pull up a chair. This is Off the Back Porch. Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer is brought to you in part by Country Village Sporting Goods. Everything you need to get in the woods, the water, or to the camp is at Country Village Sporting Goods. Jason Hardy State Farm. Like a good neighbor, Jason Hardy at State Farm is there. And Larry's Pizza in El Dorado, home of the Double Pizza Parade.
20 plus years of bringing you the most important and latest information with local happenings, news, sports, opinions, and probably an attempt at humor. Also brought to you in part by Davis Farms Country Market. For farm to table fresh, it's Davis Farms Country Market. Cook's Body Shop. Chances are it will happen. And when it does, look to Cook's. Murphy Arts District. For the latest information on concerts and events, go to eldomad.com.
Recorded live from Main Street Pizza in historic, beautiful downtown El Dorado, Arkansas. With a history of being the voices you trust. This is Off the Back Porch with Boomer and Sandy. Or Sandy and Boomer. Or two old guys you've known for a long time, whatever. And now your hosts, Troy, Boomer, Barrios, and B.A. Sandy Sanford.
Thank you, Johnny Dean, and welcome to another edition of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer here at our favorite place, Boomer, and that is at Main Street Pizza.
Main Street Pizza, where the pizza is always hot and brick-baked, and the beer is the coldest in town.
So I've been told.
Yes,
so I've been told.
That's what we heard, anyway.
And like you said a couple weeks ago, even if it's not true, we're going to keep saying it.
Well,
that's the mark of a good advertising
that
man,
is,
right?
I believe it. You better believe it. Yeah. Repetition is everything.
And welcome to the show. This has got to be one of my most excited to get is Rex Nelson. And Rex, thank you so much.
It's great being here. You know me, I always love being in El Dorado.
This is our 1 year anniversary today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, good timing.
This is our 1 year anniversary of doing the podcast. And so, we're glad to. It's actually been a year that we've been asking Rex to come on the podcast.
You have been. And I finally made it down. I'm sorry I've been so busy.
No. I mean, how many jobs are you down to? Just 4 or 5?
Yeah, just 4 or 5 now at this point. Yeah, slowing down in my old age.
Now, we'll talk with Rex about a lot of stuff here in just a moment, but as you may or may not know, Rex is the managing editor, right, for the...
Senior editor is the title.
Senior editor for the...
They put senior in front of your title when you get to a certain age, and I'm there, I think. But the great thing about it is it's a title, basically. I don't have to edit anything. I'm basically a department of one. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the best paying job in Arkansas, but I got the best job in Arkansas. Yeah. And that is, I drive around the state and talk to interesting people like you guys. That's my job.
So
write about Arkansas. And write about Arkansas.
Except for today, yeah. So again, he is the senior editor at the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.
Right.
And wanted to get that in there. We don't want any problems with people who buy ink by the barrel. That's what they say. Never pick a fight with a guy who buys ink by the barrel, right?
That's it.
And nowadays it's probably not as important as it was back in the day.
We don't use as much ink anymore since most people read it on an iPad now.
Rex, you and I have talked about this in the past, and this is something I guess I've owned newspapers.
Yeah.
And they were profitable, don't get me wrong, but I have never understood since the dawning of the internet age why they're putting everything behind paywalls. Because here's my dilemma. Like what we do, we can charge X amount of dollars per 1,000 viewers. That's how advertising works in the digital media. And we average about 60,000 viewers a month, unique visitors, unique users at southarkansasnow.com, which is okay. I'd like it to be 100,000 because I could charge more, right? But what I don't understand is like big institutions like the Democrat Gazette, let's just say that right now you have a subscribership of, do you happen to know close to what your subscribership is?
It's a full-time subscribers. We have a lot of Sunday-only subscribers, full-time and the Sunday-only. It's somewhere north of 50,000. I'm not sure the exact number there, but I know it's more than 50,000.
And so at 50,000, you can charge, let's just say, this isn't the number, but $20 per 1,000, right? So that means you can charge $100 per whatever for an ad. What if you had 1.5 million viewers to that paper every day? Mm-hmm. You could do that without a paywall. There's no way that those 50,000 people and that, doing quick math here, what would that be? $1.1 million in annual revenue. That you can make that up in the first month with more viewers to the page. And so I don't understand that model. And there are a lot of newspapers who have backed away from that. Now, I realize back in the day, to be a legal journal, you had to have a second-class mail permit. And in order to have a second-class mail permit, you had to be a subscriber-based or a fee-initiated based paper.
Legal ads, for instance, still have to be printed in Arkansas.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the reason we still hand deliver a Sunday newspaper.
Right.
So now I have a lot of people say, I've gotten so used to reading it on the iPad, I just throw the Sunday paper directly in the trash. But
or cut the coupons out.
I was going to say there are several reasons we still deliver a Sunday newspaper. One is the legal ad requirement, but there are several others. We found out, and my family is one of them, a lot of people still old school like that weekly TV magazine. It really is easier if you're home to flip open that than get on the internet or get on your phone and find what
and ignore the first three Google things.
Yeah. So they like that. I'm not a big comics guy, but people say color comics just aren't the same on a screen. They like the comics on paper, and then Sunday inserts are a part of it too.
Yeah.
And why my Sunday paper is so important is that my lab goes and gets it.
Yeah, there you go.
And my wife reads
training
it.
For your lab.
Training for my lab.
Yeah.
So, but we can talk about newspaper business. We can talk about all that stuff coming up here in the show. But again, just thank you for coming on here with us.
Oh, this is fun.
And Rex I've told people before, I said, Rex is a walking cornucopia of Arkansas history and information. And I remember probably 5 or 6 years ago, it was before COVID, so more than 6 years ago, I came to Camden to their chamber banquet, and you were the guest speaker.
I remember very well.
And you gave this great, about, I would say, 40 to 50 minute speech that I can tell you probably have given at least 20, 30 times, right? But this great speech on Arkansas politics and just what's changed over the years. And, politics in general has changed. As some of you may or may not know, Rex, you were Director of Communications for...
Yeah, Policy and Communications for Governor Mike Huckabee.
Mike Huckabee.
Most of his time in office. He served for 10.5 years. I was with him for 9.5 years.
That's where Rex and I met, at the governor's mansion, and at a luncheon that was probably still to this day some of the best food I've had. That's when the governor was going through his healthy phase. Yeah. And so nothing was sweet.
Oh, okay.
You couldn't have anything sweet, but it was good.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we instituted, and again, we've seen a lot of changes now. The governor's office, and we don't have to get into this, but they don't deal with us at all. They just care about national media. But back then, we did one of those luncheons, Sandy, every month.
Is that right?
We would invite small town newspaper editors, radio people, television people from all over the state, different groups, so you could mix. But we did those for 10 years every month. So we did well over 100 of those luncheons at the mansion. And as you remember, everything was on the record.
Yes.
When Governor Huckabee would answer, you could record it, you could take notes, whatever you needed to do.
I do recall that. And, the governor, he was good to us in the media. He really was.
He's no media guy. He started at age 13 at KXAR in Hope, actually.
That's right, calling baseball games for the Boys and Girls Club.
Exactly.
And but he was good to us in the media. And I remember a private conversation he and I had, and I don't think he would be upset that I tell this. And
wait, you want me to call him?
You can call him if you want to.
In Israel?
Because he knew me through when I worked for then Governor George W. Bush.
Yeah.
And he said, we were talking, and I said, Governor, the one thing I see more than anything is you need to get a lot less Baptist preacher and get a little thicker skin.
Uh-huh.
And he riled at that. And I was like, see? And he was like,
my point.
Okay. But he really did, granted, he spent the first year and a half, I guess, in office, being told he was illegitimate.
The accidental governor.
Accidental governor. That's what it was. Yes.
Jim Guy Tucker, of course, was convicted in one of the Whitewater-related trials. Announced he would leave in the middle of his term. The governor moved up from lieutenant governor to governor on July 15th, 96, the day I started work, day one for him. I'd been political editor at the Democrat Gazette. We had a heavily Democratic House and a heavily Democratic Senate at the time, this new Republican governor, and they just convinced himself, well, that's just an accident. He'll be gone in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I managed his 98 campaign, and not only did he win a full 4-year term, but he won a second 4-year term and ended up serving 10.5 years as governor.
Yeah. And I think the only thing about his second term that, as far as the campaign goes, was just trying to make sure that people understood that he and his wife were running two separate campaigns.
Exactly.
When Janet was running for Secretary of State, I believe it was.
That's right. That's right.
And I think the people of Arkansas said, we're not ready for that yet.
Yeah. Well,
once you run against Charlie Daniels,
I don't remember.
I can tell you now. I mean, it's been a number of years. My position at the time, of course, was I always argued my position, but once he made a decision, that was my position because I was the spokesman, so I defended that. I can tell you now, I argued internally against that. I thought it was a bad idea for Janet Huckabee to run for another statewide office. At the same time, he ran for statewide office, and I will give you the example of why I think I was right on that. The campaign I managed in 1998, and this is not any credit to me, it was just the situation was different. We got 60% of the vote. When he was reelected in 2002 and the First Lady was also on the ballot, he dropped to 52% of the vote.
Yeah.
Well, that was an 8% hit.
Yeah, that's a huge
and made
hit.
it very uncomfortable, that race. That race was in doubt till the end.
One thing about Arkansans I have figured out is they are not afraid to send a shot across the bow.
They're really not.
At the ballot.
They're really not.
If you don't believe me, just go back and look at what was happening prior to us losing what I think still to this day was one of the best senators we've ever had in Blanche Lincoln. But if you watched the votes leading up to her election, the voters were sending a message.
Yeah.
Even Mike Ross, who was unbeatable in the 4th district, right? Even Mike Ross, he came to me one day and he said, "Man, what happened?" He said, I think his opponent pulled like 46%. He said, "I've never had a race, since beating Jay Dickey, I've never had a race that close here." And he said, I've never won Union County, and I don't plan to. And he said, "But what happened?" I said, "Stop talking about Nancy Pelosi."
Yeah.
I said, "You interrupted one of your speeches in Magnolia, and then you came back to the microphone and said, 'Sorry, that was Speaker Pelosi.'"
Yeah.
I can just tell you that the people in the 4th district, that wasn't impressive to them. It left an impression, all right.
Yeah, but it was the wrong one.
It was the wrong one.
Well, let me be on record. And you've got me on tape now, so you can come back in November and say, "Boy, was he ever wrong." But let me be on record. You talk about those shots across the bow and making a prediction. I think in November you will see a young man named Colt Shelby, who is the Libertarian candidate for governor, get the highest percentage that any Libertarian gubernatorial candidate's ever gotten in America. Here's why. I don't think, and I'm talking Republicans too, a lot I talk to are very pleased with the style of Governor Sanders. But the Democratic brand is so poison in Arkansas now. They're certainly not going to vote for a Democrat. Shelby gives them a way to send a message without voting for a Democrat.
I agree.
Okay.
I'm not saying I think the governor's going to win re-election.
Yes, I think so.
But I think you could see Shelby up over 20% of the vote.
Oh, wow.
People sending a message.
If he goes over 20%, there's a chance he doesn't win.
Yeah.
I mean, just
because you don't have a runoff, so you could conceivably win that race with 34% of the vote.
Yeah, you could. And so, again, Arkansans sending a message. Ask Bill Clinton.
Well,
because listen,
I've got a column that's going to be coming out closer to election date, but it's all about Monroe Schwartzlow's in 1980 and how Clinton should have gotten the message when Schwartzlow's got close to 30% of the vote in the primary. We're talking a turkey farmer from Kingsland, Arkansas, and he didn't get the message. And Frank White, the Republican, wins in 1980. So I've got that column coming because a lot of younger Arkansans don't remember that.
The two most shocked people of the day after that election in 1980 were Frank White and Bill Clinton.
Yeah, exactly. And
Bill
Frank
Clinton
probably even more so.
Yeah, I think so. But Bill got the message and reinvented himself. Imagine that. He's done it numerous times over the years.
Hillary Rodham suddenly became Hillary Rodham Clinton. You remember after that?
That's right.
Changed her hairdo, and there were all kinds of changes. The thing that Bill did, if you look back, now technically he took a position as an attorney at the Wright, Lindsay and Jennings law firm of Washington, but the fact is, the 80 campaign never ended. When he lost, he kept all his campaign organization and just kept on the road. And you remember he did what people called the apology tour in 81. Like, I apologized that I lost touch. I wasn't listening. What did I do wrong? And he went all over the state. He was here in El Dorado. He was in Magnolia. He was everywhere. Yeah. All over the state. So that campaign really never ended. And then, of course, he does come back and beat White in 82. Right. And White is only governor for 2 years.
Yeah. And, and again, there's people who were talking about Reagan coattails and all that. That wasn't the case in Arkansas. Oh, no. I don't think so.
Not at all.
I think that was strictly...
It was send a message to Bill. And most of the people sending a message never dreamed they were going to beat him. Right. They just wanted to scare him.
And they didn't want to.
They wanted to scare him.
We didn't mean that. We were just trying to let him know. But I've noticed that with Arkansans, they will send a message at the ballot box.
And I've got a great story for that election night from some people who were there. One of Governor White's supporters in that race was Jack Stevens, of course, the famous financier in Little Rock. And same thing, he was wanting to send Bill a message that you weren't listening to Arkansans, never dreaming that White was going to win. And I've talked to some aides who were there that night, and when it became evident in the wee hours, probably 2 a.m. or so in the morning, when it became evident White was actually going to win that race, Jack Stevens looks at these aides and said, well, you've always wanted to work in the governor's office, hadn't you? Because he knew we were his big supporter. We got to make sure this works. Yeah. So these aides, you can imagine, they took huge pay cuts, leaving Stevens Incorporated to go work at the governor's office, but they were really given no choice at that point. You've always wanted to work in the governor's office.
Well, but again, you're right. I mean, hey, this is our baby. Even if it's ugly, we still got to kiss it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's so funny.
And though it was 2 years, I actually think Frank ended up being a good governor and was certainly, I tell people, our greatest ex-governor. And by that, I mean, the man was so funny that he was the MC of like every event in the state after he was governor, just because people loved him as an individual.
They did. And, I miss, obviously, I'm a conservative. I quit calling myself a Republican.
Same here. I'm an independent conservative,
And, but I'm a conservative. And so, but I'll tell you, I miss... And nothing against our current congressman. No, please don't misunderstand that I'm saying anything bad about Bruce Westerman. But I miss Mike Ross. And by that, I mean a guy who was a Democrat, who was in the Blue Dog Caucus.
He was one of the last. Blue Dogs,
One of the last of the Blue Dogs in the conservative Democratic caucus. And I remember there was a guy who was a Democrat that was a state senator here in El Dorado, had come to my office and said, I've got some people pushing me to change parties and run against Mike Ross. And I said, hold on, save your money. And he's like, what do you mean? He said, Arkansas is going red. I said, I understand.
Yeah.
I said, but what are you going to run against Ross on? He's pro-life. He's pro-Second Amendment. He's been nothing but the staunchest of advocates for South Arkansas.
Yeah.
And he didn't vote for Obamacare. All the things that you would use to run against someone on the Democratic ticket, you can't use against him.
Yeah.
He's going to get an NRA endorsement. I remember it was in in El Dorado when Jay Dickey was running for his seat back in 2002, and the Republican Party headquarters was down here on the corner. I was in there signing an advertising contract with a candidate, and Jay Dickey walks in, and it just looked like someone just punched him in the gut right before he walked in the door. I mean, just faces drooped, and somebody said, "What's the matter, Jay?" He said, "NRA just endorsed Ross."
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And which, you know, the NRA had been Dickey's biggest supporter
when he was in office, yeah.
You know, and
but
so
they tended to go with incumbents,
That and again, Ross never gave him a reason not to.
Not to, yeah.
You know, just like Arkansas
had a
Right
perfect
to Life.
voting record on their issues.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's one of those things. I just miss that ability to have someone on either side of the aisle who would just listen.
Oh yeah,
and it's not
just
all
gotten
demagoguery.
So mean now.
And
It's so mean and so shallow. I think
the exact shallow is the word,
and that's why, you know, there's so much of it. I still write some politics, as you know, but I much rather be out writing about economic development in El Dorado or Monticello, where I was yesterday. You know, that I've kind of made that my niche, the out in Arkansas guy.
Yeah.
And I much rather do that because been there, done that with the politics, and just really don't find it much fun anymore, to be honest with you.
Now, we can talk about this in another segment, but you've not been the biggest of fans of the governor.
Well, you know, I have known Sarah since she was 10 years old. Obviously, I covered her father's campaigns as political editor of the Democrat Gazette when he ran unsuccessfully against Dale Bumpers in '96, and then comes back in '86. I'm going way back, or in '92. '92 comes back in the summer of '93. After Clinton becomes president and Jim Guy Tucker moves up, we have a special election for lieutenant governor. He ends up beating Nate Coulter with less than 51% of the vote. At that time, that was the only big race in the country, so that got a lot of attention that summer. I'm political editor, so I'd covered that race. I'd covered his race in '94 when he ran for a full 4-year term as lieutenant governor, and then I had covered his race starting in '96 when he was running for the U.S. Senate, and then I joined his staff on day one. So I've known our governor since she was a young girl. Anything I write is not personal. If it ever comes across as that, I'm not a very good writer. It is coming from an Arkansan. It is constructive criticism, but it's just like if I were a sports columnist. If I were the sports columnist for the statewide newspaper, you would expect me to write how I really think the new UA football coach is doing. Mm-hmm. Whether I like him personally
and not
or
drink
not.
the Kool-Aid.
And it's the same thing. It's
right.
the same thing with the governor. And I just think that our governor's focus is on Washington, D.C. She enjoys national politics more. I don't think there's an Arkansas first focus. And as an Arkansan, that's been my biggest problem, that the focus is on the Trump administration's agenda and not on an Arkansas first agenda.
And you're not alone in that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Arkansans who have voiced this.
And thus, I think that's why I think the Libertarian candidate is going to shock everybody with the percentage.
I think if he goes north of 20%, you could be looking at a very strange dynamic.
There's a chance there could be a 1980. I'm not predicting that right now at all.
No, I don't think so
but
either.
It's a strange time.
Well, and the biggest reason I don't see a 1980 is you know, Tip O'Neill's famous line, "All politics is local," is not necessarily true anymore.
No, all politics is national now. We have totally nationalized our politics.
It is, and so you just have too many people who. If she's Trump's girl, and I don't mean that derogatorily. But if she's Trump's girl, then she's ours.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like a guy had called me a while back and said, "Hey, I've got somebody I'm ginning up. I'm going to get him to run against Matthew Shepard." And I was like, "Why?
Why would you?"
Right.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, his negatives are high. You wouldn't believe." I said, "Oh, wait a minute." I said, "I pay for 8 phones.
Yeah.
Not one of those phone calls, not one of those phones just rang with a survey on what we think of Matthew Shepard."
So frankly, I don't believe you. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, and you know, the Senate can't stand him." I said, "Good. You mean the Speaker of the House doesn't get along with the Senate?"
there needs to be some tension
That's
there.
right,
Yeah, that's
there
the way
does.
the system's set
And,
up. Yeah.
This guy was just going on. And I said, listen, man, here's what you don't understand. And I don't know about for the rest of the state. I said, I can tell you in Union County, even if he's a son bitch, he's our son bitch. You know,
Oh, no.
that's
He's
the
one
only
of the
saying.
good guys.
And he
Plus,
is. That was his
As
name.
you know, as you know, I've been a Matthew Shepard fan for many years.
Yes.
So a fan there. And one thing about this place, you've got a long record of sending very good people
Yes.
to the House and the Senate.
Jody
I was
Mahoney
gonna-
was.
I was
Jody
going
Mahoney.
to tell you a Jody story
Yeah,
a
go
minute
ahead.
ago when you said, and I said I'm the same, an independent conservative. When I joined Governor Huckabee, again heavily Democratic House and Senate, but I'd been political editor of the Democrat Gazette, so I had to be completely nonpartisan in that. So a lot of those Democratic legislators were comfortable dealing with me.
Right.
Because so they would come to my office rather than going directly to the governor. But I know many of those watching this podcast knew Jody very well, so they will appreciate this. And so on a very regular basis, my assistant would come in and say, it's Mr. Mahoney, and he needs to see you right now. He'd walk in with his box, the famous
Yeah,
box.
the box,
He had
that's
instead of
right.
a briefcase,
Yeah.
as if he couldn't afford a briefcase.
Yeah.
He
Poor
walked-
old Jody.
Yeah.
Shoes with holes in them,
Yes, exactly.
snagged suit.
Yeah.
Snags on.
Yeah.
And he'd walk in. Jody, of course, didn't care how he looked, but brilliant. And he would say to me, you'll love this. He'd say to me, he said, I just need to cuss. And he said, that boss of yours is a Baptist preacher. I'm not comfortable cussing in front of him, but you're an old newspaper man.
So you've heard
You've
it all.
And so I'd say, let it go, Jody. And he would get it out of his system,
Yeah.
whoever he was mad at.
Jody.
I just need to cuss.
I just need to cuss him in.
Jody was so good for South Arkansas,
Oh, my
and he
gosh,
wielded
yes.
so much power. And
So respected.
way back in the early '90s, when everyone was pushing term limits, I admit I fell into that boat for a minute, just
I did
thought
too
wise,
early on,
not vocally, but just
philosophically, yeah.
thought wise. But it only took me a couple of years to realize, hold on a minute, because at that time I was working for Karl Rove, but one of our candidates was a first term legislator out of East Texas. At that time, East Texas was dark blue.
Oh, yeah.
Dark blue.
I remember well, not that long ago.
They used to, the old saying about yellow dog Democrats, because they vote for a yellow dog before they vote for a Republican. And so we had this Republican legislator, and it's his first term. There's only 94 of them in the whole state of Texas, right?
Yeah.
And so he's near the bottom, and he's representing 4 counties. Yet Houston had 31 representing them in the metro.
Oh, yeah.
And so the only thing he could ever get going for him was if he ever got some seniority.
Yeah.
And he had to get seniority to be able to pass his agenda, or at least to advocate on behalf of his constituency effectively. And that's what has killed so many things. Whereas a Jody Mahoney, he could hold court.
Oh, yeah.
In the
Absolutely.
House,
Absolutely.
He could walk into Little Rock, and it didn't matter if it was the senator or the House. He could go in and say, "Fellas, here's what we're going to do."
Oh, yeah.
And there were
total
people
respect.
who would drop in.
Especially on education issues.
Yes.
There was no greater expert on
And,
education.
It's so funny. The story was told one night at an awards dinner for Jody. Then Governor Bill Clinton had asked Jody and Bill Nolan to basically write my agenda for this term. And so Jody said to Bill, "I'll take education if you'll take health care." Well, it just so happened that fit both of them perfectly,
Yeah.
both, of course, attorneys by trade, but Bill had been on the board of directors at the hospital, at Warner Brown and the Share Foundation, and then eventually South Arkansas Regional Hospital, which then was Medical Center of South Arkansas. So that was his wheelhouse, and Jody took that, and then they would collaborate together. And he told Jody, "Jody, the way this is written, we can never get a college in El Dorado." And he's like, "We have one." He said, "No, we don't." He said, "We're part of a system. We need to be able to eventually become our own university."
Yeah.
And so they changed all that. And the thing was, this awards dinner was at South Ark.
Yeah.
At that time was South Arkansas Community College. And he said, "So Jody, you're welcome for fixing your mess up." And Jody, of course, had some little quick comeback, but did acquiesce that was that was factual.
Mistake.
But those were the days when, again, policy was being written by local people who had a vast knowledge of local needs, and not coming down from the RNC or the DNC.
And that's where the nationalization has really killed us. And again, I've got another column coming that I really think is a state big picture. We all have personal tragedies, but the worst thing, Sandy, I've seen happen in Arkansas in my lifetime, people ask me, is the nationalization of our politics. And everything now is about a national agenda. That's about culture wars. We used to fight over how better to advance this rural, traditionally poor state and move up in the rankings. And we've got to somehow get back to that. I'm not sure anymore.
And still we're talking about ICE, and ICE is not an issue in Arkansas.
No. The other change I have seen is we don't get the Jody Mahoney's anymore. And here's what I mean by that. We've got some, but not in the numbers we used to. What you used to have, you had a true part-time legislature.
Yes.
And so that way, your local lawyer, your local doctor, your insurance agency owner, your banker could do that job and run. What we now have is, in essence, a full-time legislature. And what you've got, and I'm being brutally honest here, what you've got in a lot of instances is people who have been unable to succeed in the private sector, and that's their full-time job. Why do you think we have so many of these interim hearings between sessions? Because they're living off the per diems they get driving to Little Rock and back.
Yeah.
That's what they're living off of to go to those committee hearings. They're totally unnecessary.
I had a friend.
I'm a small government guy, so that is the old Republican coming out at me. And this is not small government. This is big government.
I have a friend. I said I have a friend who owns a car dealership in North Arkansas, and he said, I love when they start having more and more of those meetings. He said, because that means my legislator's going to come buy a new truck,
buy new vehicles
because he's buying it off the mileage checks, and the per diems, like you said. You're missing that opportunity so a guy who has a law practice like Matthew Shepard, for example, it just happened to be right moment for him. There's no way he could turn around today.
No.
And run and expect to serve 10 or 12 years.
No.
He couldn't leave his practice like that.
Oh, absolutely. Not that he would want to, even though he loves politics, but my youngest son just joined Friday Elderton Clark, largest law firm in the state, as a young associate. They're working his rear off as they do young associates. There's no way he could run for the legislature,
right?
And still build a career at that law firm now.
Speaking
of,
let
him off that much. So
my daughter Micah, whom you know, she said to tell you hello. I talked to her last night. She informed me last night that she has accepted the offer that was given to her from a family law practice in Tulsa, and
wonderful news.
She's tickled to death. So she was. They call it externship. I'm still not sure I understand the difference between that and internship, but she was interning at this family law practice, and before her time was up, he came to her. He said, "Look, I have 2 or 3 of y'all every year, that come in every semester, and work. I have never one time offered a position to any intern. Not that they weren't deserving of it. I just but I want you."
Yeah.
And she said, "Put your best foot forward." And so he did, and she's accepted it.
Wow,
that's great.
And so she's going to be practicing family law.
Good for
in
her.
Tulsa. And
I have heard this, and I've learned firsthand now from my son that being a young associate, first-year associate in a big law firm is a lot like Marine Corps boot camp.
Oh, man.
Or for some of us old guys, August two-a-days in
football two-a-days.
That's when you get rid of people and you find out who really wants to stay because they are working his rear off. They hired 3 young lawyers in August. he's already in April the last man standing. The other two have already quit.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but that's
the way it
listen.
works.
If you're going
But
to have,
I said, look, hang in there, and you'll make partner one of these days and take care of me and my old age.
That's right.
You'll be making truly big money at
that's
that
right.
point.
Yeah. I need you to make enough of a living for both of us.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have more with Rex Nelson, and with Boomer, I'm Sandy, and this is Off the Back Porch.
What if I get an offender bender?
State Farm's there with the assist.
Jersey swap?
Jersey swap.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
Oh, I'm feeling this.
I assisted with security things.
Swap.
I assisted with popcorn.
Swap.
Get that jersey.
Get your corn there.
Hey, I assisted myself by filing a claim on the State Farm app.
Swap.
In my halftime show, I had
It's a great story.
We're done swapping. Too late, circus man.
State Farm with the assist.
32 years ago, a young Robert Rushing began his life of public service joining the El Dorado Fire Department. While saving lives during the day, Robert Rushing put himself through college and law school at night, eventually opening a law practice in 2010 to protect and serve the rights of people in South Arkansas. By the way, he was still working as a fireman at the time. And after 23 years of service, Robert Rushing answered the call again and was elected as city attorney. Today, Robert Rushing still has that desire to serve. Re-elect Robert Rushing as El Dorado City Attorney. When it comes to your family's financial future, peace of mind matters. At Harrison Financial Management, they are right here to help you plan, grow, and protect what matters most. Whether you're planning for retirement, investing wisely, or securing your family's future, they will guide you every step of the way. Harrison Financial Management. Your future, their commitment.
Bad things happen, and of course, they never happen at the right time. Maybe it's just a little bump and cosmetic damage, or it's turned into a huge insurance claim and you just don't know where to go next. That's why so many of your neighbors and friends call on Cook's Body Shop in El Dorado. From the minor to the major, Cook's Body Shop is in your corner. Need someone to help you deal with insurance? Look to Cook's. Need advice on what to do next? Look to Cook's. Need a free estimate? Look to Cook's. Bad things are going to happen, and when they do, look to Cook's.
Rated the #1 course in Arkansas by Golf Week, Mystic Creek is truly a hidden gem, complemented by a modern clubhouse, complete with panoramic views. It also features a fully stocked pro shop and Mystic Grill, serving contemporary American cuisine and Southern classics. Mystic Creek promises an unforgettable experience.
Hey, and welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. And thanks to our great sponsors, and of course, one of our newest sponsors, that is Smackover Motors, Boomer, and Smackover Arkansas, where whether it's fleet, a single vehicle, new, previously owned, or just service, check out our friends at Smackover Motors and Smackover Arkansas.
They're pretty good at fleet accounts.
Yeah,
they do that well.
Yeah, you know, I was over there one time back when trucks were really hard to get.
Yeah.
And a car carrier pulls in. It's got 8 trucks on it. I said, I thought y'all said y'all couldn't get any trucks. He's like, oh, those were sold two months ago.
Yeah.
Those were sold a year ago.
Wow.
Wow. And getting them in.
We were talking about good South Arkansas legislators earlier. Bobby Newman was a good one from Smackover.
From Smackover.
Yeah.
Named a road after him.
Oh, he actually went to Ouachita with my dad in the 1940s. That's the great thing about Arkansas. You know, we're such a small state. You got all those connections like that.
You know, I was Asa Hutchison had appointed me to a commission, and they had a questionnaire you had to fill out, and I filled it out, and I go to meet with someone in his office, and I can't remember his chief of staff, and it doesn't matter. But he said, Sandy, I got
Allison Williams.
This was a guy, maybe it was director of communications, maybe.
Yeah.
He was the guy I dealt with when. Anyway.
Okay.
So he says, I've just got to ask you, you've given a lot of money to Democrats. I said, no, I've given a lot of money to Mike Ross.
There you go. Only Democrat.
He said, well, you know, he was Ace's opponent. He was the governor's opponent. I said, I understand. And he said, and you maxed out. I said, I did. And he said,
What's up with that?
I said, look, there's a division in the state, whether you want to believe it and the governor wants to acknowledge it or not.
Yeah.
And it's called I-30.
Yeah.
Anything north and west of that gets great attention.
Right.
South and east,
exactly.
Nothing, And I said, it was our last chance
Mm-hmm.
before letting Northwest Arkansas dictate how the politics of the state's going to go from now on. And I said, but tell me 3 things that the governor and Mike Ross disagree on. Tell me 3 policies right now they disagree on.
Couldn't do it?
Mm-mm. Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it was the same conversation that I had with then Congressman Tom Cotton when he was looking at where he was going to have congressional offices.
Right.
And I said, you've got to keep this one in El Dorado. And he's like, I need someone to run it. I said, you've got someone running it, Patty Herring.
Yeah.
Well, she worked for Ross. I said, okay, first of all, Patty Herring's first campaign she ever worked was 1984, was Ronald Reagan's re-election campaign.
Was for a Republican, yeah.
And I said, secondly, name me 3 things you and Mike Ross don't agree on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was like, so to this day, Patty thinks that she either thanks me or threatens me that she still runs that office over there.
That's a smart move.
But
and I wish we could get back to that. And that's what I meant about the nationalization of our politics. We've turned into these warring camps, whereas the fact of the matter is most Arkansans traditionally have voted split ballots. I have through the years.
I have as well.
I mean, I ended up working for a Republican governor and a Republican president. But when I first started voting, of course, in Clark County, I always voted in a Democratic primary.
There weren't any Republican primaries.
That's where all the action was.
Yeah.
I wanted to say for county judge. I wanted to say for sheriff.
Yep.
So my early years were always in the Democratic primary.
But as was most everyone.
When I first started voting, there were no Republican primaries in East Texas.
No,
there were
nothing
0.
to speak of.
And I remember the first time they had one precinct for the entire
That's
county.
What we had in Clark County. We had one box at the courthouse.
Yeah, for the entire county.
Yeah, and you had to drive in if you wanted to vote Republican.
Eventually, of course, almost overnight, but it shifted, and now you'd be hard pressed to find a Democratic primary in those parts of Texas. But going back to that, I moved here in 2002, and one of the first people I met was a guy by the name of Rich Lindsay, and Rich Lindsay is now a state district judge in West Virginia. Rich Lindsay was a third-year law student, I believe at Georgetown, and was here working on behalf of the Mark Pryor campaign. And so in the radio world, for those of you who don't know, it's a federally licensed facility. So any political advertising, politicians are sure to take care of themselves.
That's right.
So first of all, they get the lowest unit rate, which means the cheapest ads you sell. That's what they get.
Buy as much time as they want.
They can buy as much as they want to.
So they can buy you out and cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly right. And then also, if their opponent comes in, so you and Rex are running against each other, Rex has a bunch of ads on my station. You can come in and say, I want a copy of that contract. And it's a federal contract, and I have to provide that to you.
Yeah.
So Rich comes in, and it's like, seriously, my second or third week here, and he's real dogmatic and really short and abrupt with the lady up front, and she has no clue what he's talking about. She comes and gets me, and so I walk up, and he's like, I'm entitled to, and I need to see, and it's FCC documents. And I said, hey, easy, fella.
Yeah.
Man, you're not going to have any problem.
You're
not going to have any problem seeing that information.
Yeah.
And, can I make copies? And I was like, absolutely. I'll pay you. I said, I'm not going to charge you for copies. Yeah. You can come in and get as many copies as you want. And Rich and I ended up developing a friendship.
Yeah.
He's a young 20-something kid, living in South Arkansas. He was living, I believe at that time, in a garage apartment that was never meant to be an apartment above Robin Carroll's garage.
Oh, wow.
And rest in peace. And Robin and Leslie had kind of taken this storage room above the garage and made it into a little apartment.
A guest house, yeah.
And that's where he was living. And his office was in the back of that building over there. And when I say office, that's a very kind exaggeration.
A desk and a chair,
yeah.
You don't waste money in a campaign on accessories. That's going into media.
And So Rich and I just developed a friendship. I was living here by myself. He was living here by himself. And even though politically we didn't agree on a whole lot, I was still naive enough to believe that we could be friends, which we were. We go out to eat together, and his last weekend here, post Mark Pryor's win, I took him out and fed him really well, all my treat. And we just kind of kept in touch over the years. And so when he was running for judge last year in 2024, he was running, I sent him a little money. And just not even thinking he would even contemplate, the memories. And man, he sends me this text, and it's just all these memories. He had things I had forgotten, that he remembered. And but he was a good guy. And again, our politics don't line up, but he's a good guy. Mm-hmm. One thing George W. Bush that I learned working for him, he didn't care if you were Democrat or Republican.
Absolutely.
There should have been the first clue that he wasn't a conservative.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that prior to running for governor was anti-gun and pro-choice. And they finally sat him down and said, look, Mr. Bush, if you want to be governor, you're going to have to get you an NRA lifetime membership.
Yeah.
And he said, well, my dad dropped his. I said, you're not your dad. Remember? That's what we're going to run on. You're not your dad. And said, you're going to get you an NRA lifetime membership, and you're going to have to become pro-life. Mm-hmm. And it was that simple. Yeah. In Texas, if you wanted to beat Ann Richards, who was a wildly popular Democrat.
Yes, very much so.
And what killed her so badly was she put her daughter in charge of the State Board of Education, and her daughter was a militant lesbian. Mm-hmm. And she started pushing the whole Heather Has Two Mommies and My Two Daddies books into elementary schools. And that was, Texans just didn't.
They didn't swing that way.
Well, they probably felt a lot like I felt at the time. Said, look, if that's what you want to do,
go do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. But let's not indoctrinate.
Yeah, don't be sending books in there for my kids.
And I think that was the message, that Ann Richards got. And of course, George W. Bush, who handily, easily won that race. But one thing I learned from him, and he says he learned it from his mother. You find a person who comes from good stock, that's just a good person. Whether you agree politically or not, you support them. And if you do that, you'll always have people who can check you respectfully, and people who can help guide your opinion to see the other side. And he proved that time and time again. Now, I'm running the campaign. My guy, his last name was Christian. Open seat, so the governor will not endorse. Wildly popular mayor of Nacogdoches, Texas, named Judy something. And she was the mayor, and she was a former hospital administrator, so she had medical PAC money out the wazoo.
A lot of medical support,
And my guy, who was a former gospel singer, Dove Award winner, and happened to be a financial consultant or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm telling Karl Rove, look, we've got to have the governor's endorsement. All of our polling we're 4 to 6 points down, depending on which poll you believe. Her first report that she sent in on her contributions was about that thick, and it was about $300,000.
Oh wow!
Ours was this thick and was about $100,000.
Yeah, small contributions.
$5 and $10 and $12 and $7.37, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, "There's a sign, but we've got to be able to raise money, and if we can't raise money without the governor," he said, "the governor's never going to endorse in an open seat. He's happy with either one. Then what are we doing?" And that was a constant point of contention. Well, it just so happened we're running neck and neck. We had a public debate where my guy just annihilated her. There was the other thing. My guy's about 6'1", good looking, great voice. Obviously, he's a Dove Award winner. And Judy was older and short and frumpy, and had to actually put a little stool behind the podium to stand there and talk. And she would go up there with a binder. My guy would walk up empty-handed and speak from the heart. And she was speaking from talking points. People began to notice that. And we're pulling close. And we were in Jasper, Texas at their annual Chamber of Commerce banquet, and my guy is the keynote speaker. And just before he gets up to speak, the president of the chamber says, "I'm sorry, Mr. Christian, I'm so sorry. We've had a special guest who wants just a few minutes." Well, he knew, and we all knew, but he's like, "Oh, yeah, sure, whatever you need. He nods at the back door. Back doors of the gymnasium there at Jasper High School fly open, and here comes the governor. Governor George Bush, cowboy hat, sleeves rolled up here, and it looked like a Pentecostal camp meeting. They're throwing babies at the ceiling, man. I mean, they're dancing in the aisles, and the band's over here playing "The Eyes of Texas Are Upon You." And hey, how you doing? How you doing, bud? Hey, man, good to see you, pal. Good to see you, friend. And it takes him 15 minutes to get to the platform. He gets to the platform.
He's good at working the crowd.
Oh yeah, he was very good at it. Although he had a pretty limp handshake, but
he's a backslapper, though.
He was, literally. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But he finally gets to the platform, and he said, "Laura sends her apologies. She didn't have her face on. She's out there in the truck." There was no truck.
Was no Laura.
And Laura wasn't there. But don't let that get in the way of a good story, right? So he says, she's out there in the truck. She didn't have her face on. Said, "We was riding along, and I was listening on the radio and heard Gene Cordray on the radio say..."
As if he were listening.
Yeah. He said, "Heard Gene Cordray on the radio," which Gene Cordray had only been doing morning radio there in Jasper for like 35 years. Everyone knew Gene Cordray. Yeah. Felt like he was a part of their family. He was the honorary pallbearer at more funerals there in Jasper.
Yeah.
You know? But he said Wayne Christian was going to be here tonight. And he said, "Something my mama taught me years ago. You find a good man, come from good family, good stock, has a good heart. You get behind him. You support him. And that's why I'm here to tell y'all tonight, I'm a Christian man." And man, I leaned over to our campaign finance chairman. I said, "I hope you blocked off your calendar for the next week."
Yeah.
I said, "Cha-ching." The next
the roof
day
came off the place.
Oh, yes. Of course, the State Press Association ran it statewide, and then the national press took it. And we were getting money from Oregon and Washington and Idaho and Montana and Utah especially. You know, tons and tons and tons of money started flowing in. We still never outraised her, but we won that thing 52-48.
Wow.
And, then it was, since then now, Wayne is he is a railroad commissioner in Texas. And if you know anything about Texas politics...
that's their PSC, Public Service Commission.
And that's where the power...
The most powerful appointments.
There's only five of them. They run at large in the state. Mm-hmm. And he's now a railroad commissioner. And again, they set everything from electric utility rates to how much propane can be charged. They set they are the power brokers of the state.
Yeah. Well, since you knew all the players in the Bush administration, you'll appreciate this. I'll make it quick. But when Governor Bush was in office, I was working for Governor Huckabee, obviously both Republican governors adjoining states. So we're always at the same Republican Governors Association meetings, Southern Governors Association meetings, National Governors Association meetings. You see them all the time, so you get to know people. The person that had my job, communications director, in the governor's office, named Karen Hughes. People deathly afraid of her. You can confirm that.
Yes.
She's tougher than most any man that worked for him.
Balls of steel.
Oh,
that's what we always said.
Absolutely.
Said, can you look Karen in the face and tell her that? And they're like, no.
No.
Then I keep my mouth shut.
So I get to be a Bush appointee, and I'm at DRA. And the way that DRA was set up by Congress is it is an independent federal agency. And so we're not part of the Agriculture Department. We're not part of the Labor Department. We're an independent federal agency. Now, it's not as if I'm running buddies with George W. Bush.
And the DRA is the Delta Regional Authority.
Delta Regional Authority. It's not as if I'm running buddies, but if you were to do an organizational chart, the two federal co-chairmen, there were two presidential appointees, would report directly to the President of the United States.
Yeah.
Because there's no secretary we were under. Now, I've always said, you know this to be the case, if you want to get somebody arrogant, give a 26-year-old kid a White House pass and a pair of suspenders, and they think they run the world.
Yeah.
So I got this arrogant little such and such from the White House on the phone one day. And he was just really giving me a hard time. And he made the mistake. I never used this before or after, but I had to that day. He said, "Who's your supervisor?" I said, "His name's George W. Bush. You've probably heard of him."
Yeah.
Got a little quiet for a minute. And he said, no, I need your direct supervisor. And I said, that is my direct supervisor. I said, go check it. And he said, well, I need to talk to somebody else. And I said, can you go get Karen Hughes? Phone goes quiet.
Yeah, I know.
He says, you know Karen? I said, I've known Karen since she worked in the governor's office. We were colleagues. I was Arkansas communications director. She was Texas communications director. Go get Karen and ask her who I am. Mr. Nelson, I'm going to need to call you back.
Yeah, Mr. Nelson.
All of a sudden, I'm Mr. Nelson.
Yeah.
And about 5 minutes later, he calls back. We'll get you everything you need.
Yeah.
It's all taken
We're
care
on
of.
it. On it. Yeah.
He was not going to face Karen. He probably would have gotten the president's wrath before he would have wanted Karen's
That's exactly
wrath.
right.
Back then, you could say the trump card. He played the trump card.
Yeah, that's right.
I did.
Yeah.
I played the Karen card in the
Karen
Bush
card.
administration. Yeah.
She was always tough. She had to be. But, one of the things that I remember us explaining to then governor, who was a prospective presidential candidate at the time, said, Governor, the national press is not the Texas press. Mm-mm. Even the Austin Statesman likes you a little.
Absolutely. Different world.
New York Times, there will be nothing about you that they like. It doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
It'll never matter.
And I think that was still, even to his last day in office, I think he still never accepted that.
Yeah.
But, because here was his thing. He would say, man, I can win him over. True narcissist.
Yeah.
Really believes that all I need is a few minutes to talk to him and I can win him over.
This goes back, though, Sandy, to what I was talking about, to the nationalization of our politics in Arkansas. Our current governor, and I'm just stating the facts, I guarantee you will rearrange her whole daily schedule if she can get a 5-minute slot on Fox News live. She will not sit down with a reporter on the record from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.
That's sad
and
to me.
answer tough questions.
That's sad.
To the people who sent her to office.
But
the national media, especially the right-wing national media, fall all over herself.
So last week I went to interview some police officers, a lieutenant and a captain, for their use of these new camera systems that we have here in town. And I told them before I walked in, I said, guys, you need to know something. I'm not pulling punches. And as a member of the media, if I feel like you're bullshitting me or you're trying to hide something, I will call you out in a moment. Mm-hmm. You need to understand. Oh, that's okay. I'm not scared of tough questions. I said, says every officer out there.
Yeah. Until I ask them.
But
until they're asked.
I said, let me ask you this. Right now, there's at least 2 attorneys in your head that you'd beat the hell out of if you had the chance. All because of how they treated you in court.
Yeah.
For doing their job.
Yeah.
So everyone says, oh, no, I'm not scared of tough questions, right up until I start asking them.
Yeah.
And I said, so you just need to know up front, I'm coming in as devil's advocate.
That's right. And I'm going to ask tough questions.
And I did. And they handled it very well. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
But that whole tough questions thing. So when George W. Bush was governor, there was a piece of legislation that he had, and I don't even remember what it was. It wasn't significant as far as, it wasn't like one of his keystones, but he needed this piece to pass just to show face with the National Republican Committee that, hey, I can still get things done, even with the Democrats. And so he goes to, there's this liberal Democrat, openly gay legislator from the Montrose area of Houston who has never said a good thing about George W. Bush. If he was born breech, of course he was. This guy has nothing good to say about him. Governor Bush walks into the legislature, just unannounced, walks over to this guy's table, his little desk there, and lays it down and says, hey, buddy, this is good for Texas. Appreciate you. And walks out.
Wow.
This guy who can't stand George W. Bush.
Yeah.
He introduces this legislation and it passes unanimously.
He introduced it.
Yeah, he introduced it.
And
as
George
an author.
took it to him.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's why that one-on-one working is so important.
I remember having that conversation with Governor Huckabee.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't think we can do that in Arkansas. I said, not if you're going to fight all the time.
Yeah.
And that's when we were talking about the whole Baptist preacher thick skin thing.
Yeah.
And, he just still had a little funny. When he was doing his national radio show, which I guess, did he take over for Paul Harvey? Is that what it was?
He did.
And
Absolutely,
and then
he did.
he turned that into a 3-hour program.
That's right.
That was counter-programmed.
But after Paul Harvey died, he originally took all of those stations who had time to fill. Yeah.
He was did a 3-hour program. So Ken Sibley and I are in Dallas, Texas, and Governor Huckabee's doing his talk show at this hotel, and we walk up to the room, and of course, man, we're met by security immediately.
Yeah.
And he sees us, and he's like,
Get
let
in here.
him through.
Yeah.
And so he goes to his next break, and he jumps up and runs over and hugs our neck, and asked about Micah. She was fixing to go to college, and he said, "Where's she going to go?" And I told him she's going to the University of Arkansas. And so he gets out a picture and he signs it. "Go Hogs! I'm so proud of you, Micah," and he hands it to her. And Sibley looks at him and says, "Well, I guess our vote there at the church turned out the best. Central Baptist Church in Magnolia had once called Mike Huckabee in view of a call.
Oh, wow.
And then voted against him."
Voted against him.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Well, as long as Ken was in Arkansas radio, he probably remembers when Mike was on the air on KXAR in Hope and then on KVRC in Arkadelphia. But, Mike put his way through college, as you know, a lot of people don't know this, working on my hometown radio station.
Yes.
That's how he worked full time. He told me this back, of course, as you remember, Sandy, when we actually had sign-ons and sign-offs, that he's worked literally at KVRC because it was hard to find people on Saturdays from 6 a.m. sign-on to 11 p.m. sign-off.
And back in the day,
he needed the money from all those hours.
Yeah.
He would work the entire day at the station.
Yeah. And, I was in my 20s when I got my first gig as a program director. And then I was still in my 20s when I got my first gig as an operations manager. And then I was 30 years old when I got my first job as a general manager of a radio station. And there was a guy who, when I started in radio, he was my sales manager. I worked for him. And when I got named as GM of this group of stations, he come by my office one day and he said, "Man, you've just been lucky." And I said, "I guess you're right." I said, "Of course, one of the biggest reasons is I was always at the right place at the right time."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Because I was always at work."
Always there.
I was the only one. I was the only one who would do remotes on Saturdays on the fringe of our signal. Get out there, 2 hours away from our tower. And do a live remote on a bag phone.
Yep. Been there.
I once called play-by-play on a high school baseball game between Stanley, Louisiana, and Shudrint, Louisiana, from a payphone with a guy standing on top of my truck giving me hand signals because I couldn't see the field.
Yeah.
But that's how I did the play-by-play. And people at home never knew if I was right or wrong with my calls, except our team won. That's all they needed to know.
Yeah.
But and then when the tower went down at 2:00 in the morning, there's tornadoes everywhere. Guess what? I was the one who went out there and stood under that lightning rod and got us back on the air. And it was just all those things, And
been there.
I know you have.
In fact, you'll appreciate this, and Sandy will verify all of this. But so we had set up. I've been doing Ouachita football since 1978. And we had, in the late 90s, early 2000s, Jay Bunyard had set up a little network. We'd gone from doing it on one station to doing it on 4 stations. And then Allmark here in El Dorado takes it on. And I couldn't help but thinking, I remember that wonderful day, because you mentioned Bill Nolan. And I came down here to meet with you all. And Bill says to me, if it's going to have our name on it, I want it first class. I'd been working on the same telephone for 30 years, from 1978 to 2008. That was the first time we had an actual tie line, all of that. You'll remember. He said, "Buy whatever you need."
Yeah,
and we want to do this. We want to do this first class.
That was something that I brought. I'm not going to say I brought that with me, but it was certainly something that he embraced, and I just said, one of the first things I went to was a live remote that when I moved here, and it was the most boring 4 hours I've ever seen in my life. Now, I'm not saying we have to be entertainment, but there was no way for the DJ who was on site to know when it was his time to go on unless he had the car stereo on. So one of the first things I did is I bought a big speaker system so that our music and it could all be playing. We stopped doing if possible, we stopped doing remotes via cell phone.
So it looked more professional.
It looked more professional.
Yeah,
and
and
even
it
when we
sounded a heck of a lot
when we
better.
did do them by cell phone, we had the equipment to where it all plugged in. He's holding a microphone.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of doing it like this.
Yeah.
Hey Rex,
Right, back and forth.
It actually he had to hold a microphone and those things. We just wanted it to appear as though you hired the best.
It's your professionals, yeah.
And that's something we've carried over with us here at South Arkansas now. A guy came up to me recently after our election night coverage. He said, I've forgotten how good we had it. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, I've just forgotten what it was like when you were with Noel Mark and y'all would show up to an event. It was going to be a first-class event every time. And he said, your debate that y'all put on, he said, I was blown away. He said, I was there, and I was just blown away with how well that was run. He said, your election night coverage and just how professional. And he said, we had gotten spoiled. And he said, we've forgotten how good we had it.
Why do it if you're not going to do it right?
That's my whole thing is let's do it right.
Yeah, and Sandy will tell you my motto has always been on these Ouachita broadcasts, we may be a Division II school, but we're going to sound like a Division I broadcast.
And it does.
With a full hour of pregame, full hour of postgame, on-field interviews after the game.
Yeah. And, of course, Rex is one of those guys that they're waiting on him to finish his postgame so they shut the lights off.
Yeah,
and
that's part of the joke.
And he's like, hey, guys, I got 45 minutes to go. Yeah, I'll shut the lights off. Y'all go ahead and leave.
Among radio people in Arkansas, that's a long-running joke, the length of our postgame shows. But we do a full scoreboard, everything
Rex,
that a D1 would do.
You have the distinction, no one, as far as I know, in the United States has been calling football games continuously for one team longer than you have in the NCAA.
I'm up there. There's some in the past that have done it, but currently I'm not sure. But it would be pretty high. This will be my 43rd season, good Lord willing. I'm getting to that age. I don't take anything for granted. Good Lord willing. I make it to the fall. I'll be calling my 43rd season. Now, the late Jack Crystal, I know at Mississippi State, did about 54 seasons, I think.
Oh, wow.
So, got a ways to go for some people. And Crystal was this legendary character, chain smoker. And so Mississippi State plays Arkansas in Little Rock a few years back. So I get press box access. Kevin Traynor was the sports information director at Arkansas at the time. And I have him put me next to Crystal's booth, and I can watch through a little window there. And every time he'd go to a break, he'd fire up his cigarette again, stuff it out, go back to broadcasting. Of course, this was long after everything had gone non-smoking.
Right.
I say to Traynor, you going to let him break the rules like that? I knew the answer. He said, he's been doing games over 50 years.
Yeah, he can do what he wants.
He can do everything he wants to. But I know you've heard this, Sandy. One of his great moments was Farm Bureau would sponsor one of these little post-game segments called The Drive of the Game. Well, Mississippi State got shut out. There were no drives. Scoring drives. Game was in Starkville. He lived in Tupelo. He had this old crusty voice, and you can go online and find the tape of it because it's funny. It's time for the Mississippi Farm Bureau drive of the game. And then there's this pause, and he says, it's going to be my drive home to Tupelo tonight.
That's the only drive.
He had nothing to offer.
There was the only drive we got.
Nothing there. Just nothing there. You know,
but it was sponsored, so he had to say something.
Right, that's right.
Mississippi Farm Bureau drive of the game.
You know, Boomer asked Randy Rainwater one time, and Randy's a good friend of ours, and we've had him down here a number of times.
I've known Randy since the 70s.
And he asked Randy something, and Randy's like, hey, I don't care as long as I get to say who's your Sonic player of the game. That's all I care about.
You can say whatever you
want.
They
pay me every time I say that.
That's right. Well, when I first started at KVRC at Arkadelphia, you all appreciate this knowing small town radio. We even had the time sold, and I did it so many times. Here we go. I can still do it. Let's say time is 1:20 p.m., courtesy of Laster Furniture Company in downtown Arkadelphia, where you're invited to buy now and pay later. Free parking while shopping at the store, open all day Saturday.
Perfect.
I did it so many times it's still
It's
up
still there.
there.
That, you know, we all have those.
Yeah,
we all
all
have
day
those.
Saturday.
I would try it, but I would mess it
Laster
up.
Furniture Company's still in business, so you're welcome for the free ad, Laster. You
No,
may
it's
have
not
people
free. I'll
driving
send you a
up for
bill.
El Dorado.
I'll send you an invoice. You know, but Rex, one of the things you and I have in common is we are both foodies.
Oh yeah.
You know, Rex and I both love food. As a matter of fact, Rex, you have your own podcast.
Yeah.
And it's called
Southern Fried. And that's about everything. It's all Arkansas based, but it's not just about food. But I just thought that was a good name. I started as a blog, Southern Fried, and you know, technology advances, and we kind of went from a blog to a podcast now, but kept the Southern Fried name because I like the name.
Remember when they used to call them
I've got
vlogs?
a website, southernfried.com.
They used to call them vlogs, video blogs.
Yeah, video blogs.
Video blogs. Now we just call them podcasts. But I've listened on a number of occasions, and I always enjoy just those little nuggets of, like, I had no idea. You know, that's the parts I always love so much. Back in 21, when that snowpocalypse came through here, we ended up with 28 inches of snow in El Dorado, which no one here is equipped for.
Oh, no. Not at all.
And my house was destroyed. And we were out of our house for 53 weeks.
Oh, my gosh.
It took 53 weeks for them to rebuild the whole inside. I mean, stem to stern of our house. And so I'm at my house, and I'm wiring in the receptacles and the light switches, and I'm putting face plates on and hanging ceiling fans, you know, just all that little stuff that still needed to be done. And I'm listening to your podcast, and you know, I just some of the guests and the people and the things you would talk about, and I was like, man, I could do that. You know, and you know, I don't. Some people think they can do this. They think they can do a podcast. I said it last week, and you'll appreciate this.
Yep.
People would come in the radio station all the time when I was general manager here at Walmart and say, I want a talk show. I can sell sponsors. I can do, but I need a talk show. I need my own.
Fill in several hours, especially when the phones are slow.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I said, come with me. And I'd walk them in the studio. And a lot of times Rodney Wimberly, who did a morning show on our talk station, was there. I said, Rodney, I need you to excuse us a minute. Sure. And he'd gather his stuff up, and out he'd go. And I'd turn it on. I'd start recording. I'd say, I'll be back in 45 minutes. And I'd walk out.
And see if they could fill it.
Rex, I can tell you more often than not, a majority of the time, I would walk back to that studio 45 minutes, and they'd be gone.
Yeah.
And I'd go back, and they may have 3 to 4 minutes of a rant.
Quit. Yeah.
And that's all they had.
That's all they had.
Yeah.
And they thought that 3 or 4 minutes was enough that they should have a talk show.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people about a podcast. I mean, there's a running joke that
people are the same way. They're the same way about play-by-play too.
Oh,
I
know.
I've been doing it for 42 years. It's like I'd love to do that. I can call a game and then and like,
hey, shoot up in here amongst us. We need relief.
Oh yeah. And occasionally, you know, you can get Roy Bob from some small town high school, you know, which is a lot of fun, but it's really not play-by-play.
Yeah, right.
That
I've been to those.
is doing. Yeah,
you know, so at one point on our stations, we were covering 5 high schools every Friday night with live play-by-play.
I remember
5 high schools and 3 colleges every weekend.
Yep.
And so I brought in all the play-by-play guys because it got to where I couldn't listen. I'm not saying I'm a perfectionist because I'm not perfect, but I am an opportunist, and we need to take the opportunity to do as best we can.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to one crew that we had doing the games, and it was like they're watching the game. Oh, man. Oh, good God. Wow, what a play. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't say nothing.
And we have no idea what just happened.
All right. So the guys that have worked for me through the years, and now it is a little unusual in that all our home games now are live streamed. So I'm still doing a radio broadcast because that's my main thing.
But they can see it.
But they can see it. But the radio listeners can't. So, you know, my people learn quickly working for me. You never call a number because nobody at home has a roster.
They don't know what that number is.
You know, and you get some inexperienced play-by-play. That was old number 82. That tells me nothing. You never use a number on the radio. You know, you give that time, you give that, I'm old-fashioned, give that score at least every couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And I set up every play. Out of the shotgun, 5 wide outs, empty backfield, 3 to the left, 2 to the right.
Ball on the near hash mark.
Because they got to have it in there.
Moving from left to right as you look at your radio.
Do that line. I'm very old school.
Yes. I am the same way.
Very, very.
It's really
old
hard for me
to
because
paint that picture.
Boomer and I went from doing radio to doing television.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to do radio play-by-play
when you're doing
television.
People who watch our live cast, and Watch has this great radio and television program now. So it's, the stuff they do with
Jeff
replays
still,
and all.
Is he still the dean over?
He over communications.
Yeah.
Chris Babb is the guy that runs the sports network.
Yeah.
And they do great work. But they're getting radio play-by-play, but they want Jeff and I on there just because we've been at it so long. Jeff's been with me, by the way, most of those 42 years. So
he's also the voice of the Arkadelphia Badgers, right?
Yes, for 40 years.
Yeah.
And so we've got over 80 years of experience between the two of us. And what's really funny, I mentioned Richard Atkinson. He started with us the 2008 season, and at one point this season, he says, I've been at this now for 18 seasons, and I'm still the kid.
Yeah.
That's right. And I said, you always will, but if you were with us.
Like
we don't change out much. So Richard says, I'm still the kid. He's been with us 18 seasons.
When we bought Ken Sibley's radio stations in Magnolia, which is a story for another time, but we bought his stations. I went and met with him privately because his people didn't even know they had sold.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, if y'all want me, fine. If you don't, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Which we all knew he was okay because he'd sold the old KVMA FM to Citadel Corporation. They moved to Shreveport.
And
it was a seven-figure deal.
Big money, yeah.
And,
he did well.
Which ended up having to go off the air shortly thereafter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because it was interfering with U.S. fighter jets at 80,000 feet.
Oh, wow.
And
coming out of Barksdale. They had in and out of Barksdale.
And so at 60 and 80,000 feet, it was interfering with fighter jets.
Yeah.
And so they had to take it off the air. But anyway, when we bought Ken's station, he said, now listen, my newest employee, she's been with me 10 years.
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But
that's the newbie.
Ken, man, what a classic radio guy.
Oh yeah,
and
Ken was doing. Dan Gregory's been at it a long time, but I can tell you when I started doing play-by-play, Ken was still doing both Magnolia High School. Arkadelphia was in the same district. I did high school then too, and SAU. So I saw Ken a lot in those early years, and he was a real mentor for me as I was a young play-by-play man.
Ken was a friend to me at one of the darkest times of my life, and just that steady presence. That first of all, he's a godly man.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you knew any advice you were getting from Ken, it was being filtered through his faith, and then not only that, but just a smart guy.
Yeah.
I mean, just really knew the ins and the outs. And so I was on the board of the Arkansas Broadcasters Association. I filled the unexpired term of Phil Robkin.
Oh, wow.
When Phil had sold his stations and was out of the business, and so he had to resign his seat on the board of directors. I ran for and won that seat.
Yeah.
Back then, how it would work is whomever was kind of over your little area, and it went by congressional districts. Well, the person who happened to be in charge, basically the godfather of our area when it comes to the Broadcasters Association, was a guy by the name of Bob Parks.
Oh, yeah.
And so Bob walks me around and introduces me to people and says, this is Sandy, and he's running for Phil Robkin's seat because Phil had to resign, and just wanted y'all to get to know each other. And then Bob come grab me up a minute or two later and take me and introduce me to somebody else. And this went on. And so when it came time to run, no one would run against me because Bob had taken me around. And well, I filled 2 years, I think was what was left in that term. And then I had to run for re-election. And there was a guy who worked for Clear Channel in Texarkana who had announced he was going to run against me. And I called him and I said, hey, man, if you'll wait, next year there's an at-large seat. And we can get you on there, but if you run against me, I will purposely make sure you don't get that at-large seat next year. I will run someone against you. And he was like, bring it on.
Yeah.
I'm with Clear Channel.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So I had a big white dry erase board in my office, and I wrote down every radio station in the 4th District. There were 72, so I needed 37 votes to win. And I started getting on the phone and I started calling local owners. Clear Channel's running this guy against me. Oh, hell no. No. And I said, but here's the thing. You got to show up to vote. You can't vote by proxy. You got to be there. And so far, you're not registered for the convention. And they're like, okay, by gosh, I'm going to be there. I called Ken Sibley. Never had talked with Ken Sibley a day in my life. Didn't know him from Adam. Called him, told him what was going on. He said, Sanford? Okay. That's what he said. Okay.
Yeah.
And Ken had never been, or it had been many years since he had been to a broadcasters convention. He showed up at the convention.
He came to the meeting.
And came and voted his stations for me. So just before we went into that vote, I walked over to that guy and I said, last chance. I said, if you go into this room with your name still on the ballot, I will run someone against you next year for that at-large seat.
Yeah.
If you bow out now,
yeah,
I said, you won't have an opponent next year.
That's right. We'll make sure you
And
know.
he says, it sounds to me like you're scared. I said, no, I'm going to tell you right now, the vote's going to be
I've got the
58-12.
votes.
It's going to be 58-12.
I've got them counted, yeah.
And it ended up being 60-12.
Oh, wow.
So
wow. Yeah.
it is what the votes ended up being. And of course, I was very fortunate. It was a weird series of events, but I ended up becoming president of the Broadcasters Association. And wouldn't you know it, dang Jim McCall comes down to meet with me like the week after I get elected as president of the Broadcasters Association. I take him to the country club. We spend about 4 hours together talking about what's coming up and what we need to be focused on, and going over memos from our attorney and Frank Jazzo in Washington, D.C. And we get done, and he stands up and he's like, all right, I'm going back to Little Rock. And I was like, all right, Jim, good to see you, and I'll be up there next week. And he's like, yeah. And he hands me an envelope. What's that? Well, you can just read it when I leave. I said, no. What's that? It's my notice. I'm retiring. I said, Jim, what are you doing? He said, Sandy, you need to pick the next executive director.
Oh, wow.
And he said, and in the meantime, you're going to have to run this thing.
That's all yours.
And so 2009, 2010, and part of 2011, I had stations here, Magnolia, Hot Springs, Arkadelphia, Malvern.
Carlsbad.
No, I didn't have direct influence over those New Mexico stations, but I was vice president of the company, but I had all these stations here locally, and then I'm 3 nights a week in Little Rock with the Broadcasters Association. And man, I think the most missed thing in my life was my bed. I don't think I saw it for months at a time.
I'm tired thinking about it.
You know, and but it was an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate. We were able to hire Doug Cryle. And now, again, Doug's one of those guys that I had to sit down with at one point and say, Doug, look, it's very obvious your political leanings are way left of center.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
But it can't show in your work.
But you cannot let that come out. So when you're sending a memo to us and you're just like, even if it's just an informal email to the board and you're like, well, that damn Huckabee can't do that.
Can't be doing that.
I said, you know, it wasn't that many years ago, Mike was Arkansan of the Year.
That's right.
For the Broadcasters Association.
And he's an old broadcaster,
too.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And so, you know, but Doug did a great job. And then, you know, I moved on and they've moved on, and that's all good. But those things are just...
you look back on those moments and you say, boy, I don't know how I did it. No sleep, but I'm glad I did it.
I don't want to do it again.
I'm this, as you know, I'm this weird combination where, you know, I'm part print guy, part broadcast guy, and I feel just as at home at an ABA convention as I do at an APA convention, because I just have gotten to know everybody. Well, I'm editor of the daily paper in Arkadelphia, youngest daily paper editor in the state in 1984. And the then owner of KVRC KDL, John Regal, I'd gotten my FCC license when I was 13 years old. So he had brought me up through high school, college, and Mr. Regal calls. We're doing great at the paper, and says, look, my health's failing. I need to sell this thing, but I've got people leaving me. I mean, you know how it is. Basically, you tell me what the paper's paying you, and I'll pay you a little bit more, and I need you to basically help me keep me on the air.
Yeah.
That's when he ended up selling to Eddie Graham. You'll remember then. But for a little more than a year, Sandy, I was the news director, I was the sports director, I was the morning drive host. But I look back and I said, he was so good to me. I'm glad I did that for Mr. Riggle. That we could keep a good operation going until he could find a buyer.
Until you find a buyer.
And then I moved back to Little Rock once we found a buyer.
My first gig in radio, a guy I went to high school with, his dad was starting a radio station in a little town called Logansport, Louisiana. And now that's not where the station was licensed. And it had a huge signal.
Yeah.
Huge signal. Covered Toledo Bend Lake.
Oh, wow.
Which, as you can imagine, is massive.
Oh, yeah.
And basically that's how we played it. Is we were Toledo Bend.
You were the voice of Toledo Bend.
Right.
Yeah.
And but I got a little sweat equity, and most of my paychecks there for a couple of years bounced. If I got them.
If you got them at all.
And the owner would come in on a Friday, and I could always tell when he'd walk in the door, if he didn't make eye contact with me, I wasn't getting paid that week. Now, if I could have ever talked SWEPCO, Southwest Electric Power Company, into a trade, I would have never needed a check.
Oh, yeah.
We had a trade with the grocery store. I had a trade with the gas station. I had a trade with everybody else. Even cable. I was trading cable.
Yeah. So we were, when I was in high school, we had, and working at the radio station, they were into trade, of course, and the trades I was able to use were Herb Neal's line station. I like saying line here at El Dorado. I had a line station in Arkadelphia then, and we had Herb Neal's line station, and we had the Tasty Inn, which was an upscale Tasty Freeze. I could use both of those. What else did a high school kid need?
Give me food and gas.
All the hamburgers and all the gas I needed.
Yeah.
I had the greatest job.
When I was in high school,
I had the greatest job in the world.
I needed a beer store, but
but I had those trade outs. Hamburgers, French fries, and gas for my Oldsmobile.
That's exactly. What else did you need? And we're going to take a break, Rex. We come back. We have some questions that I'm going to ask, just general questions. And then also we've got some letters from some of our viewers, and we'll do that coming up right after this on Off the Back Porch.
For longer than most of us can remember, Timber Lane Meat Market has been a staple of our community, where quality meats and friendly faces come standard. From everyday dinners to weekend cookouts, make it fresh, make it local, make it Timber Lane. Be sure to check out the daily lunch specials and like us on Facebook. Timber Lane Meat Market, 1336 West Hillsboro in El Dorado. Proud to be part of South Arkansas, and even more proud to be displayed on your table.
Experience, courage, common sense. All of these are traits we want in any elected position, but especially in the man we will pick as our next sheriff. Michael Fife hasn't just been in law enforcement for 30 plus years. He's the one who answers the call in the middle of the night, putting himself last and Union County first, looking folks in the eye, doing what's right, standing up for all of us. Vote for Michael Fife for Union County Sheriff.
Country Village Sporting Goods has a little bit of everything you need to get you to the water, the woods, or to the camp. Coming soon, a new shipment of creek boats. Every year we sell out fast. Get yours ordered today. It seems like we're always unboxing the latest and greatest in lures and tackle. Come check out new colors, new styles, and the latest technology making rods lighter and reels easier to cast. Cruise through our vast selection of camo clothing, coveralls, overalls, boots, outerwear, and more. All at Country Village Sporting Goods, 965 Smackover Highway in El Dorado.
Everybody loves a parade, and Hilarious Pizza throws parades all week long. Bring the family in for your favorites, or explore the variety that Hilarious Pizza offers. Come join us at Hilarious Pizza for the greatest parade ever.
Hey, and welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer. And Boomer, again, thanks to one of our special sponsors, and that is our friends at Timber Lane Meat Market.
Yeah, and they've moved. They're now in West Hillsboro. What's the number?
I don't know the number.
Not the phone number.
I don't know.
It's right there.
It's right there in West Hillsboro. Yeah,
You don't need
right
an
there.
address if you live here.
It used to be the Huddle House.
Yeah, it used to be the Huddle House. That's it. Yeah. Hey, you can get some good cuts of meat there.
Great cuts of meat.
Yeah.
And
they serve sandwiches and stuff too.
They do. Mm-hmm. They have a daily lunch special that's fabulous. And again, stop by, check it out. Man, those little pinwheel things they make with the cream cheese. Man, I can throw those things on the grill. I went over there. It's been a few months now, and I got a prime rib.
Yeah.
And I smoked it.
Big papers.
I smoked the prime rib.
Smoking pit.
And with
that was a cheap joke.
I made a crust with like a little bit of a horseradish sauce.
That sounds good.
And man, when I sliced that thing open, I sent the guy who owns it a picture. I was like, "Hey, take a look at this." He's like, "Man, that looks good."
Yeah, it's good in the middle.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So again, welcome back to our special guest, Rex Nelson. And Rex, I'm so excited. I've been excited ever since you agreed to come on the podcast. And
this is fun.
We've had some great guests. We've had some duds. And so,
that's always the case.
I won't say who, but there's one guy we had on, and man, every question was like pulling teeth. It was like,
been there. As you remember, you used to have to do the public service shows.
Yes.
That you would usually replay at like 6 a.m. on Sunday.
Right.
As part of your agreement with the FCC. And I did one at Arkadelphia called Impact Arkadelphia. Well, I love my hometown. But in a small town, the talent pool, you can get down out of it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And the guests aren't quite as good once you've gone through that A-list.
Right.
Yeah. And same thing, you'd get there and start recording and ask that first question. Yes, yes,
or nod their head.
Yeah, or just nod, and you think, how are we going to make this 30-minute show?
Right.
We made a joke.
You can feel that sweat coming on, then like, oh well.
This guy though, he was so hard to interview. But the moment we turned the cameras off,
start talking again.
He was joyful. He was funny. He was topical. He was just chatty Cathy. I mean, and I'm like.
Yeah,
Sandy and I are looking at each other.
Where was
Sanders? The camera scared him to death. Yeah,
where did that come from? So, but we've had some great guests. I think your daughter.
Yeah,
that's been one of the best podcasts, in my opinion, we've had. Was his daughter was here with us recently. My daughter Micah was on with us back during Christmas, and she did really well. It was well received. Madison Murphy came on, and Madison had a real health issue.
I had heard that,
and he talked about it and at length, and double lung transplant.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could have that. I didn't even know it was something you could transplant.
Right,
but. He was a great guest.
Steve Smart came in, talked about the hospital.
Yes, talked about the El Dorado just voted to tax themselves sales tax wise to fund the maintenance and the facilities of our hospital, South Arkansas Regional Hospital, which Rex, as you remember, used to be Medical Center of South Arkansas, and it was jointly owned by the Share Foundation and a corporate entity.
Yeah,
and at that time, I think it was Triad, and then Triad got gobbled up in a hostile takeover. And then CHS, Community Health Systems, ended up owning that half of the hospital. And then whomever that commercial half was, they would then get the management contract to run the hospital.
Yeah.
And I ended up on the board of directors.
Dark times.
For the hospital. And one of the things that we did was Bill Nolan and I went and flew to Tennessee to get the chairman of CHS and put him on the plane and fly him back here for an event. And he got to listen to Bill explain to him for about 2.5 hours of what he's going to do and not going to do to our hospital.
Yeah.
And, Bill was very, very much an advocate for local health care. He always told me, he said, Sandy, we can never hope to have a good city or a great city if we don't have adequate and available health care.
Amen.
And
that's
so,
such a part of it. Education and health care.
Yeah. And obviously those two things very dear to the Murphy family.
With a good school district, you've got them both. Yeah.
And so, but CHS, that board ended up becoming an entity I didn't recognize. After 7 years on the board, I just threw my hands up one day and said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Listen, no one more so than I understand we have to make a profit, right? We have to make money. It's not an issue. But what happened on those years where we were making record profits and we weren't sinking any of that money back into our local facility. Oh, we were propping up. We were propping up Forest City.
Yeah.
You know, we were propping up all of the other ones. And then the one thing that really got me was there came a point in time where we had to negotiate a new contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield, which for the Medical Center of South Arkansas at that time was our largest payer. And so here was CHS's response. Well, we have 7 Arkansas hospitals. Y'all negotiate collectively.
Oh, wow.
The problem is 6 of those hospitals, their biggest payer was Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah, you are a very different animal than they were.
And so it ended up being the CEO, who, bless his heart, was a fabulous guy, would sit and listen all day, was never going to do anything. I used to joke he had to call corporate to make sure it was okay to go to the bathroom. And even then he would squirt it out as quick as he could and get out of there. You know, he just wasn't going to make a decision. And we're sitting across from these seasoned negotiators and frankly, just not good people. Just really just not genuinely good human beings who were negotiating on behalf of Blue Cross Blue Shield. We would finally get to somewhere where there was some semblance of an agreement, and we're going to come back tomorrow and button it all up. Rex, I would leave that meeting and get back to my office, and there would be a fax there, a press release from Blue Cross Blue Shield. Medical Center of South Arkansas refuses to negotiate in good faith. And this was daily. And I'd walk in and say, hey, guys, what is this? Oh, that went out before. No. It says right here what time it went out. You know? And so we'd have to start over from scratch.
Oh, wow.
And so there came a time period where we cut them off. Sorry, if you're a Blue Cross Blue Shield patient, we'll see you in the emergency room. You'll be billed for everything your insurance doesn't pay for, which isn't going to be much. Right. You know, and but you'll have to go to another hospital. And that went on for a few weeks, I think, before we were finally able to work out a deal. But CHS, you know, every time we're like, hey, this quarter we made $1 million.
We'll go back into the hospital.
Where is it? You know, we're over here running some East German war surplus equipment,
floppy disks.
Tied together with shoestring and baling wire. And we made this many $1 million last quarter.
And get no upgrades.
Why? And you know, of course, one of my favorite / least favorite parts was negotiating contracts with personnel. And
I bet
there was a doctor, I won't say his name, but I said to him one time in negotiations, I said, you know, I think a lot of doctors get the bad rap of that you have a God complex. And he's like, some do. And I was like, the problem is you think God has a you complex. You know, that's how important this guy thought he was.
Even worse.
And then he couldn't keep his private life private. And, you know, that'll kill you every time. Ask Coach O. You know, so ask Coach Orgeron. But now, you know, through 3 nonprofit foundations, the Murphy Family Foundation, the Murphy USA Foundation, and the Share Foundation, they went in and just snatched our hospital back. They bought it away. And then with the help of UAMS and some state grants and all, they were able to get our local hospital back.
Right.
And now Baptist has announced they're going to be here as of June 14th.
I was talking about that with some people here at breakfast, and I was telling them the first time Baptist Health went outside of Little Rock, North Little Rock, was way back in 1983 when I was the editor at Arkadelphia. They took over the old Clark County Hospital. And we put together a whole special section, got to know people there, have known people there ever since. Know Troy Wells, their chief person. You're going to be very, very happy. Baptist Health runs good operations.
I tend to think so, too. I had an operation a couple of years ago in Baptist. My doctor, because he's associated with Baptist, that's where he sent me. And, man, it's just... And let me tell you, when it came to payment, it was so clear and so easy. To this day, I've never had a medical procedure done that was that easy to pay for and was that easy to recognize and understand what it was I'm paying for.
Not to mention they're the title sponsor of our pregame show.
That's right. For OBU Tigers.
Counting down the kickoff.
That does ring a bell. It does.
Have been for many years.
You know, it's so funny because just how ingrained OBU had become in my family. Again, Micah was your board operator for 2 or 3 seasons there. And then, of course, Jax ended up at OBU.
Right.
And, you know, just how much we've always loved our OBU family, and that's what we call it. Our OBU family.
A lot of them here in El Dorado. I went to Ouachita with a bunch of El Dorado people. So yeah.
Let's talk about something real quick.
Okay.
I'll ask you guys a question. You give me the answer. Yeah. How about that? All right. You can only use, this is about movies, and you can only use a movie once.
Okay.
Okay. So, for example, I'll go first. Favorite movie, Godfather.
Giant.
Mm-hmm. Huh. How about you?
One of Rock Hudson's old.
Gone with the Wind. No. No.
Queer Eye for the Straight Guy?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. You don't have a favorite movie?
I don't have a favorite movie.
Really?
Yeah. Texas Across the River with John Wayne.
How about Patton? That's right behind Giant for me. Yeah, I like Patton.
Movie that makes you remember your childhood.
The Sound of Music.
Probably one called, not a big budget movie, it was called A Trip to Bountiful.
Okay.
About a lady going back to her old hometown, and it reminded me of my grandmother so much. Yeah.
Grease.
Yeah. Remind you of childhood.
Yeah.
Favorite Tom Hanks movie?
Oh, the one with the ball where he's...
Wilson.
What
was that?
What was the name of that movie?
Castaway?
Yes.
Castaway. Yeah, I may go there too. Because my dad was a Wilson salesman. He was in this
Forrest Gump.
business. Yeah.
Forrest Gump. Hands down, Forrest Gump for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Movie that still makes you cry. I'll give mine first. The Fox and the Hound.
Fox and the Hound. That is
every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
The Way We Were.
The Way You Were.
I'll go back to my childhood because I remember,
Old Yeller.
Shane. Come home, Shane. Come home, Shane. Yeah. Still makes me cry.
Yeah.
Favorite romantic movie. Mine said Pretty Woman.
I don't know if I have one.
Speaking of pretty women, JW. Have you noticed? His lovely wife is walking in. That's why.
Okay.
So, Pretty Woman. Easily my favorite romantic movie.
Gosh, Still Magnolias, probably.
Another good one.
Mm-hmm.
This may be as much comedy as romantic, but When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, yeah. That's a rom-com.
Oh, yeah.
So, favorite action movie?
Oh, my word.
Die Hard.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't beat Die Hard, but...
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah. The Stallone ones. Rambo, yeah.
Yeah. God, I like a lot of action movies.
Or the one where they had the aliens, where they came in and hunted you. What was...
You talking about Signs? Them not Shyamalan?
No. With
Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah. Where they were in the jungle and they couldn't see them, those guys. Predator.
There we go. We needed
was Sylvester Stallone in that? I thought that was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yes, like same thing.
Yeah.
Old guys,
Favorite 80s movie?
Well, I'll have to go back and think
this is a hands down no-brainer for me.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's a good one. That's good. Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club for me. And of course, in the 80s,
Rex was working.
Yeah.
No, it was actually in 1980, but that's the 80s. It was the start of it. I remember where I was when I saw it. I was in Kansas City. But The Shining, and it scared me to death.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that scared everybody to death.
Yes.
Yeah. Love that movie to
Johnny.
this day.
Here's Johnny.
And I love that movie to this day. That's probably my favorite 80s movie.
Favorite comedy?
Oh, man.
Home Alone 2. Lost in New York. That's my favorite comedy.
Yeah. Well, this came out when I was in college, and it became our lifestyle Animal House. We even had a food fight in the Ouachita cafeteria.
Oh,
got
my.
in great trouble, I can assure you.
Speaking of Ouachita, while he's thinking of
I
his...
can quote about every line from Animal House.
While he's thinking of his Ouachita cafeteria. So when my oldest son, Jax, he's enrolled at Ouachita, we go there, we move him in and get him in his dorm, and we're sitting in the cafeteria, and he has a big glass of chocolate milk and he's drinking. He said, "Dad, the best part about coming to OBU?" I said, "What's that?" He said, "Free chocolate milk."
And I said, to be said for that.
I said,
all
"Son,
great. Yeah.
You're getting $250,000 education,
and you want to
and you're talking about chocolate milk?" He said,
one,
"Dad, I can drink $250,000 worth of
chocolate. I like it. I like chocolate milk.
So your favorite?
I like the vacation movies.
Oh yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah,
some better than others.
Yeah,
that European one.
European, not so much. Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation
is probably the best one.
Yeah, that's one of the better ones.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Favorite sports movie? For me, Draft Day.
Draft Day. Yeah. No. Well, Build It and They Will Come.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
Hoosiers.
Oh,
yeah.
What a great movie.
Great movie. Still
Coach,
gets me excited at the end.
Coach, you only got 4 men on the floor. That's my team. I'm playing just like that.
Exactly.
I loved that.
Me too.
Let's see. Favorite courtroom movie? For me,
that's
A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
I have to go there too with
Man, what a great
all-time great lines.
I think I said it a few weeks ago on the podcast. Colonel Jessup, whom was played by Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. Yeah.
Jack Nicholson. Yeah, I said Nicholas, like the golfer.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson. His soliloquy, his rant, is 100% accurate.
Oh, absolutely, it is.
It is one. Now, it's ill-timed and not very well thought through in the setting.
Right.
But he is 100% right in what he said.
Things really work.
Yeah. He said the truth of the matter is you want me on that wall.
Yeah.
And he's right.
Yep.
We don't sometimes need to know how the sausage was made.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Favorite horror movie?
I already told you The Shining.
But you can only use each one once.
Oh, okay. I'll come up with another horror movie.
I don't like scary movies.
Halloween.
Yeah. For me, it was the original Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
Is that the one with Jason's? Is that the
all the Jasons?
Oh, yeah.
This was the very first one, the original, like 1981.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was his mom who was actually playing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Let's see. Most overrated movie. And this is what's going to be funny because this director, I have him several times on this list. But for the most overrated movie, Lady in the Water, M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, my family would agree with you. We were on vacation, and we loved his earlier movies, and we got that in the hotel. We paid for that in the hotel room, and that's awful.
Yeah,
something coming out of a swimming pool at an apartment complex. Yeah,
and I think that I had just watched the worst 2.5 hours of a movie I'd ever seen in my life was with Nicolas Cage called Wicker Man.
Yeah.
I'll never get that time back.
Yeah.
And then to turn around and watch that, I think I was just so sorely disappointed.
I might have to agree with you on that.
Lady in the Water, because it was so hyped. Because like I said, his two previous films had been hugely successful.
Oh yeah, they were great
really
movies
good,
too.
Really good cinema.
Yeah. Yeah.
Movie you can watch over and over.
Though there are several that I've already named, I can watch over and over.
Goodfellas or Smokey and the Bandit is one that
I was going to say I pretty well got Animal House memorized.
Yeah,
Casino for me. Any Tarantino, just about any Tarantino movie I can watch. Because here's the thing with Tarantino movies, you can watch it 10 times and you'll get something new every time.
Yeah.
Martha, you'll watch.
We've watched Smokey and the Bandit a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Even the bad edited version that comes out on TBS or TNT.
And being an Arkansas boy, because it is so Arkansas, I can watch Sling Blade over and over too. My grandmother, my dad was raised in Benton, and my grandmother actually called the state hospital there the Nervous Hospital. Well, that's what it's known as.
Yeah.
And it was shot in Saline County, the movie, and Melissa didn't get it, and I grabbed her leg and I said, Billy Bob, of course, he's from Malvern, so he knows how everybody talks that part of this. I said, he's got it down. She said, what? And not wanting to talk in the theater, I said, I'll tell you afterwards. And so afterwards, she said, what are you talking about? And I said, when he said the Nervous Hospital, I knew this was authentic because that's what my grandmother called the state hospital out there when I was little.
Favorite thriller? So for me, it's a toss-up between, and again, I told you he'd be on my list again. It's a toss-up between The Sixth Sense, I See Dead People, and Signs.
I didn't see Signs.
Both of those. Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan's Mel Gibson movie. He's a pastor who's lost his way, and kind of give up on his faith?
Yeah.
For me, it was The Day the Earth Stood Still, and there was two of them. There was one that was made when I was a child, and then they made another one probably in the 80s. It was a remake. Have you ever seen that one? That was when we were kids.
Yeah. Well, I was going to go some really old stuff because I love a lot of old Hitchcock stuff and Vertigo. I love
Vertigo,
Psycho, Birds. Yeah. A lot of the old Hitchcock
the
stuff.
Original Psycho, man, that was was so controversial.
With the shower scene.
Oh my word!
Yeah,
you didn't do
That's
that
back
in
when
movies back then.
You couldn't say pregnant on TV.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
Movie with the best
and
sound.
couples would go to bed fully dressed.
In twin beds.
Yeah, exactly.
Movie with the best soundtrack.
Oh, Breakfast Club.
That could
They
be.
had all the or
if you're an 80s
'80s
music fan,
person,
For me, it was Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm.
Because Goodfellas spans so much time.
Yeah.
And so, you've got everything from, Bobby Darin and, Mac the Knife and then into the 70s and the 60s and 70s and then in the early 80s.
Yeah.
And So just a great soundtrack.
St. Elmo's Fire.
St. Elmo's, that's a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
But you're right, Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire, Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
Was another one that had a great soundtrack.
How about with Travolta with
Staying Alive?
Staying Alive.
Yeah. A lot of Bee Gees.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You got to like the Brothers Gibb.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are certain movies, my wife and I both say certain movies that have a certain song in the soundtrack that'll make us cry. One that immediately comes to mind, we had Tom Hanks earlier, called Philadelphia. And City of Brotherly Love in there. And you just bawl at the end of it.
That's a tough movie.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of bawling at a Tom Hanks movie, I still get choked up every time when he learns that he has a son. And he looks at Jenny and he says, is he smart or is he
like me?
Yeah. It's the first time that you realize that Forrest as a character realizes
he's limited.
He's limited.
Yeah.
He's chosen his entire life not to pay any attention to it, not to let it bother him, and just live life, which is the most freeing thing you can do.
Because he had to go see the president
again.
Exactly.
But there's the first time he's concerned about his mental capabilities because he passed this on.
Yeah.
And so that's a tough moment for me in that movie every time. Let's see.
Now, soundtrack, because I'm a big blues guys and rhythm blues guys, so I got to go back to Blues Brothers too.
Oh,
the early 80s.
Well, I'm an R&B guy too.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, my second pastor, the Right Reverend Al Green.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
the Blues Brothers, they got the great John Lee Hooker from Clarksdale, Mississippi. At one point, sitting there doing his famous
Gosh almighty.
And you ever see the hands on John Lee Hooker?
Oh, yeah.
His hands are this big.
Yeah.
No wonder he can cover the whole
That's
neck.
where our headquarters was at DRA, Delta Regional Authority. So I was in Clarksdale a lot. There's a John Lee Hooker Drive downstairs.
Oh, of course.
And people laugh at it because it's so double entendre. But it's named after John Lee. There's a Hooker Hotel now in downtown Clarksdale.
Yeah. One scotch, one bourbon, one beer. Isn't that the name of it?
Yeah.
Movie you're most embarrassed that you love. For me, it's Van Wilder. I hate to admit it, but I find that sophomorically hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, talking about something that could never be made in our politically correct times.
No.
It's Blazing Saddles.
We've talked about that.
Probably should be embarrassed. I cannot watch Blazing Saddles without crying. I'm laughing so hard.
Right, and you can't watch it by telling anybody.
Oh, no. So you're about embarrassed, so I just told you what it was. I'll be very honest with you now.
Yeah.
Favorite Disney movie?
Oh, wow.
For me, it's Pinocchio.
I don't know. I don't remember. Go, Rex, you go.
Oh, man, I watched so many Disney movies as a kid.
Yeah, I have 6 kids, so I'm down from everything from the very early on.
Oh, yeah,
Beauty and the
Cinderella.
Beast. Cinderella.
Yeah, exactly.
Elsa, Frozen. That's probably because of my kids. That's probably one. Because of my grandchildren, by the way.
Yeah.
So, best sequel ever?
There's been some pretty bad ones.
Yeah, most of them are. It's very rare for a sequel to be any
Godfather
good.
2. Godfather 3 I didn't think was that good, but I thought
it wasn't
Godfather
that
2
good.
was an excellent sequel.
To me, Godfather 2 is better than Godfather 1.
Yeah, you may be right.
Yeah. And I think it's the addition of De Niro.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm sorry.
That's probably my favorite sequel. Yeah.
You got Al Pacino and Robert De Niro both in the same movie.
Oh, yeah.
Do you realize that those two were in the same movie like 11 movies before they ever did their first scene together?
Oh, wow.
And that was in City Heat.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, Pacino and De Niro in the same movie. But yeah, that's what I had written down was Godfather 2.
Yeah, well, that's where I was going.
100%.
Yeah.
Favorite movie based on a book? Shawshank Redemption.
A lot of them are based on a book.
Yeah.
Easy for me, Shawshank Redemption.
Really?
It's that's in and of itself, it's just a great movie. And you know, of course, Morgan Freeman makes that movie with his narration. And
yeah,
that's
anything. Morgan Freeman
he could
read
narrate the phone book.
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah.
I wish and I love. I can do some voices, but I can't do Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, that's
I mean, if I tried, maybe if I practiced
on
it.
Yeah.
But you know,
the print guy's coming out in me now. I'm not going to base it on a book. I'm going to base it on newspaper stories, and that's all the President's Men. Yeah.
I knew. I when I made this list,
guy's coming out in me.
when I made this list, I made a mental note. I said, I wonder if Rex is going to say all the President's Men.
Yeah.
Favorite movie in space? Immediately comes to mind any of the Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm not a big science fiction guy, though.
I'm not either.
I like
Star
real
Wars.
life, so I'm going to go back to Apollo 13.
Another great movie.
Yeah. Houston, we have a problem.
Yes,
How
you
many
do.
times have you heard people now repeat that through
Independence
the years?
Day.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that was
With Cousin Eddie flying the plane.
yeah. Cousin Eddie flew the plane and Will Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I was I guess one reason I liked Apollo 13 so much is I can remember I was a huge fan of the space program. Still am. I've got to check on this launch today and see how it went.
6 o'clock.
As we tape this. But I was such a fan. I can remember, and my parents let me, staying up all night. Walter Cronkite is my babysitter as they tried to get Apollo 13 home to see if they got him home or not.
Yeah. And, of course.
If you'll remember, for us old guys, the networks went to continuous coverage
they
by
did.
then, and they stayed on the air.
At 54, I am old enough to remember the very first space shuttle explosion.
Yeah.
And the thing is I remember I was in my U.S. history class that morning. And it was such a big deal because, first of all, a teacher from our school had been one of the finalists to be on that shuttle. If you remember, they took a teacher into space the first time, Krista McAuliffe. And so one of the teachers from our school, I never had her as a student, but she had been a finalist. And so every classroom in the school rolled that big TV
out to
in
watch
there.
it.
And they plugged it up and turned it on. And we're sitting there, we're watching as it takes off and it explodes.
That's horrible.
And no one thought to get up and go turn it off.
Yeah.
And we're all sitting there, 13-year-old kids, and like, what just happened?
Y'all are seeing the worst catastrophe in
our lifetime.
In our exploration.
And I will go back. I will tell you, again, as a writer, I think that Peggy Noonan was the best presidential speech writer probably ever, and Reagan was the best deliverer.
Oh, gosh, yes.
As a trained actor. And you remember when he did the national address
Slip
that
the
night, and
surly
that
bonds of
line,
earth.
"Escape the surly bonds of earth." I get teary-eyed thinking about it and touch the face of God.
Yeah, and it was, and that unfortunately does not go down as one of his most iconic lines, but it should.
It really should.
Because it was a time, you literally had a nation mourning and asking questions.
Oh,
what happened?
Yeah.
Just, because we all watched it live.
And he was kind of the first pastor that night.
He really was.
And some of the debris came down in your neck of the woods.
No, that was the second one.
Yeah, that was the second
That
one.
was
in
the
East
second
Texas.
one.
Yes.
Yeah. That was the second one. That one exploded on re-entry.
That's right.
And
on a Saturday.
That's what I was thinking about. That's the one
My son was young, and we just were headed to a youth basketball game. I can still remember it was on a Saturday. The one that came down over East Texas.
I was living, so I'd been here at least 6 months because I'd moved out of my apartment, and I was living in a house just south of town, and I heard it. And I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
Now I've only been here 6 months, so I don't know what it could be. It could be any number of, things.
Plants or something.
One of the plants or something. And, of course, this was prior to Facebook. and then all of a sudden I get a call from my then first wife who was in Texas, and she was like, something just happened. There was an explosion. And I was like, I heard it. She
Wow.
said, how? I'm just telling you, I heard it.
Yeah.
And she's like, they're saying that the debris is raining down on us. And sure enough, I mean, it was
close to you,
all right there in that, basically a swath that went from Hemp Hill, Texas, over to just north of DeRidder, Louisiana. And man, but they were finding pieces everywhere.
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
how did the first one blow up?
Frozen O-ring seal on the solid
takeoff,
solid rocket booster.
Yeah,
solid fuel.
You made me feel old talking about you were in school, Sandy, because I was.
I was working.
I was going to say I was a sports writer for the Arkansas Democrat. The Sunday before that happened, I had been allowed to cover the Super Bowl in New Orleans at the Superdome.
Oh wow!
The Chicago Bears beat the New England Patriots. The Bear Super Bowl. I covered it. I drove back. Now, the Democrat, they let me cover it, but they were still cheap. I didn't get to fly down. So I drove back to New Orleans on a Monday, and I was taking the next 2 days off. And so I get up late, and that's when I watched the Challenger blow because I was off on that Tuesday that happened.
Yeah.
It was a Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah. I remember I was in U.S. history. Miss Anderson was our teacher. And
I was home in Little Rock.
And I was like, and I kept thinking to myself, shouldn't a grown up go turn that TV on?
Yeah, because we shouldn't be watching this.
I mean, you know how when you're that age, you don't want anybody to censor you, but when they don't, you know something's not right.
Yeah.
And that was just it was like I'd go somewhere with Daddy, and he would give me one of these. If we were in a movie or something.
You can't watch that.
And so it's just I felt like somebody should have. But I just remember that entire day at school because it was so early, and it was like 8:30 in the morning.
And we've all seen the replay so many times. You remember those last words, Challenger, go at throttle up from Mission Control.
And it had already exploded.
At that point. You see the white spreading out then.
And it was,
smoke.
And it was a frozen O-ring.
Yeah.
On those solid rocket boosters.
And you actually saw it leaking. And
Yeah.
I want to tell you the day that President Kennedy got shot, I was in first grade. And that was, brother.
Daddy was in third or fourth. So that's what Daddy said. He said they came into the school and told them, and of course they were in Houston, and they sent them home.
Yeah,
they sent them home right after. Of course, it was 1:30 in the afternoon, so it wasn't like they were missing a lot. But they did. They sent them home. And
9/11, my two sons, both in Catholic school in Little Rock, got sent home. My wife had just had major back surgery. I had to go pick up the boys. Governor Huckabee and our chief of staff were stranded at the Southern Governors Association meeting in Lexington, Kentucky, because they weren't letting planes fly.
Everything was grounded.
So I was the senior staffer in the governor's office. Crazy. And yet I still have to go pick up my boys early. So that is a very memorable day, 9/11 for me. Yeah.
I was obviously
school out
I was
early.
on the air. And we're on the air. And most mornings when we came in, my program director normally got there before I did in the morning, and he would have the TV on MSNBC because he liked watching Don Imus.
Oh, yeah.
And so he would watch Imus. And then I would come in and gripe about it being on MSNBC and change it over to Fox or whatever.
Right.
That morning, the TV wasn't even on.
Oh, wow.
We're doing our normal little segment, and we were taking on-air calls like we did here. And the guy's like, hey, man, are you watching? We're under attack. And I'm like, watching what? He said, just turn on any TV station. We're under attack. So I hang up with this guy live on the air, and I turn the TV on, and we're watching. And at that point, it just one plane had hit.
Yeah.
And then we tune in just in time to see the second
tower
one.
hit.
And then there's no question we're under attack.
Yeah.
After that point, it was like, was it a mistake? What happened? Would it lose control? What happened? No, after that, there was no question.
No question after the second, right.
And of course, one of the first things that happened was we started picking up a digital glitch. And when we went to network programming, because we were an ABC affiliate, and we switched over to ABC immediately. And we went to network programming, and I kept picking up a digital glitch. Ding. Just about every 8 to 10 seconds.
They were pinging everything?
And so I'm on the phone with my guys in Dallas at ABC, and I'm like, what is this ping? And they said, oh, okay. Said, you're evidently close enough. Can't tell you where the president's going to go because we don't know.
Oh, he went to Barksdale.
But you're close enough.
He went to Barksdale.
Yeah, and that's what it was. Is man, they kicked up every radar that the U.S. had, popping up out of grounds and backyards and stuff like that. There were people in our area who said, well, there's been a satellite out there since, that right across my fence line since I was a boy. I've never seen it move until today.
Now it is.
And that thing started moving.
Yeah.
And, that just...
The defense system.
The defense system. And, so when I came to El Dorado, I'm sitting in my office one day and my secretary walks in and she says, there's a guy from the Department of Defense here to see you. I said, Department of Defense? We are licensed by the FCC. I don't know what DOD has. So I go out and meet with Colonel so-and-so, and I'm thinking, man, they don't send a colonel to El Dorado, Arkansas to ask you how you doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, do I need to have Mr. Nolan here? Do I need to have an attorney present? And he pulls out some paperwork that you can tell by looking at it is ancient. You can tell it was done on a typewriter. According to our records, you have an underground bunker on this property. And I was like, if we do, it's news to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was paid for by Department of Defense funds, and we need to know if there's anything in it. I said, I need to know where it's at.
Yeah.
And he said, I can walk you to it. He said, according to these plans, we walked out there, and I'm like, man, if there's anything under there, I bet you it's been long filled in, because old AM stations.
Oh yeah.
How AM towers worked, you had the tower,
right?
But your real signal came from those wires that ran out through the ground.
Yeah,
and it was a huge spider web mesh, and so that tower had fallen in like 1999, and they got a new one. They got a folded unipole, so it didn't need that underground mesh. So they dug all that up. And I said, if there's one down there, it's probably caved in. They had bulldozers and everything else here. Well, come to figure out, no, we didn't have an underground shelter. What he was talking about was what we called the bomb shelter. That was built with Department of Defense funds. In case the U.S. was ever under nuclear attack, they believed that the radio station was far enough away from any strategic mark
that it could continue to broadcast.
Yeah. And we had a generator and a propane tank that were also paid for by Department of Defense way back in the 50s.
Wow.
We'd replaced both of those, incidentally, with our own dime.
Well, my father, when I was probably 7 or 8, bought the old post office building. Southwest Sporting Goods is still in it, downtown Arkadelphia. Built in 1917. It had a civil defense shelter in the basement. When the Postal Service moved out, they didn't move anything. So you talk about a fun place to play as a kid, because we had the water barrels still there, the old cracker boxes still there with food, all the guides on what to do when they did the new one, and the Geiger counter that they left.
Wow.
And I would play with that as a kid. I'm sure I wasn't supposed to, but they didn't take it with them.
But you know what? In Arkadelphia, that's the best place to be in a tornado.
Oh, absolutely it was.
That was the thing. My kids...
The March 1st, 97 tornado that destroyed so much of Arkadelphia, Main Street a block away was totally leveled, as you know.
Yes.
That building was built so strong, they built them well back then, federal buildings, that there was just a little roof damage was all.
Yeah.
That they had.
My kids will tell you, my 3 oldest, they call themselves the 1.0s, and the 3 youngest are the 2.0s. But the 1.0s will tell you they spent most of their childhood in that bomb shelter on stormy nights.
Yeah.
I put them in there with their homework and say, guys, I'm going to be in here on the air. If it's an emergency, you come get me. Otherwise, leave me alone.
Stay down there. Yeah.
I forgot about that. Get in the bomb shelter. And they'd go in the bomb shelter and sometimes homework. They would be there while I'm out chasing storms.
Oh, yeah.
And now, you chase storms, and in local radio, especially back then, that was your time to shine, man.
Oh, yeah.
That was, school closures and storms.
You knew everybody was listening.
Yeah. And so I would send these guys out, and I'm with the radar, and I've just learned how to read them. I can tell you a long way before they start, where to look based on rotations we're seeing. And so I call Boomer one time, and I'm like, hey, where are you? And he said, I'm about such. He said, stop. Huh? I said, stop. And called Steve Harrell, who was out chasing the same storm. And I said, where are you? And he said, I'm on 167 South. I said, have you crossed T-Rix yet? And he said, no. I said, then don't. And he slides to a stop in a station van in the middle of a 4-lane highway and said he watched a tornado go across the road.
Me too.
Boomer, it come around and it actually shook the back end of his truck around.
Wow.
Over on Strong Highway.
Yeah.
And
I tell you, I got the governor to give a special award to a guy following that 97 Arkadelphia tornado. A guy named Jim Burns, who was head of the Office of Emergency Services for Clark County at the time. Jim, a native, he was enough to know, as you know, storms often come up right up the I-30 corridor, if you ever notice. They'll come Texarkana, Prescott, Arkadelphia, into Little Rock. And he knew that. He had set up on the highest point down on the Clark-Nevada County line.
I know the exact spot.
And saw that massive funnel cloud and radioed back and said, hit the sirens and do not turn them off till I had. And they had deaths that day in Arkadelphia. We had 25 killed that day statewide. But think how much worse it would have been. They had 8 minutes of sirens before that hit.
And 8 minutes is a lot of time
down there. Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah.
You know,
yeah. So they had 8 minutes of sirens.
That's great.
Or there would have been far more deaths from that.
You know, and of course, it was one of the things after we started South Arkansas Now was we realized there's no one locally doing storm coverage.
Doing storm coverage
and
anymore.
So, you know, I'm out chasing a tornado last April, and we've been watching it. It came from Texarkana, comes through Stamps, and is headed to Waldo. So I'm out at the old KVMA tower out there behind SAU at the rodeo bar.
Know right where it is.
And moment of truth here, I needed to pee.
I understand that happens.
So, but the problem is I'm on camera. You know, set up an iPad. And so I've got the iPad sitting on the hood of my truck. Well, and it's covering me from here. You know, this is what you can see.
So you peeing under the truck.
I'm peeing. And I'm like, and I'm looking at the screen. I said, and you can see the tornado back here behind me. And you could. The problem was, that was the back of the tornado. What I didn't realize was the front of the tornado, which I couldn't see, but everyone else at home could, was right there. And all of a sudden, I felt the pressure change. I started getting pelted by rocks. And I grabbed that iPad off the truck, and I jumped in the driver's seat, and I fly out of there.
Oh, wow.
And driving down the road trying to talk to Grant
at the
same time while it's looking at the hood of my, or the roof of my truck and trying to zip my pants.
All at once.
And drive.
And drive,
That's true news coverage
They
right
did
there.
good coverage that night. That was
True,
good coverage.
true news
You know,
coverage.
I had a guy, so that was last April, and then somewhere around June or July, there was a truck that came through Parker's Chapel through a neighborhood making a delivery, and it took down a power line. Started a little fire. Guy's trapped in his truck. And so, of course, all the emergency alerts go off. And so I run over there to see if we can get any footage or coverage of it, right? So I'm over there, and I set up, and I'm doing a live shot from there. And then this guy walks over to me, and he has a cell phone in his hand. He said, "Hey, are you Sandy?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Here." And he hands me the phone. And this guy gets on the phone with me, and I'm sorry I don't remember his name. But he said, "Man, I just want to tell you, I would not be alive today."
Wow.
He said, "So that night you were in Waldo a few months
Makes
ago."
it worth it. Yeah.
He said, "You specifically said if you're on Columbia County Road, blah, blah," and I don't remember what road, "you need to move and move
you
now.
were in it.
It's right on top of you." And he said, "So y'all were the only people covering anything." He said, "So my wife and I are watching." He said, "We run out there and jump in the Jeep and we back up just in time to see our house disappear."
Ooh.
It like literally disintegrated in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And he said, "We would have still been in there had
man.
y'all not said."
Yeah.
And that's when you know.
That's when you
That's
can
what
save lives.
What you're doing is more than just filling time. And, you know.
Well, the 2-hour high school board show I do every year, we had a bad Friday night outbreak. Late at night, we're on the air from 10 till midnight, over 50 stations across the state. Weirdest show I've ever done. But you realize people's lives, we turn that into more of a weather show than a scoreboard show. And we'd say, because we had storms in East Arkansas, we had storms in West Arkansas, we were statewide. Well, I was reading it all, then maybe get in a few high school scores in between.
Yeah, and talk to a coach here or there, you know.
But I knew what the real duty was that night.
Yeah. If you've never heard Rick's scoreboard show, I would encourage you.
It's fun. We make it fun. We've got some good characters that call in from around the state.
Oh, yeah. You know, we used to give Rainwater hell all the time because there used to be a guy that called in on Drive Time Sports, Jimmy Lee.
Oh, I remember Jimmy Lee.
And, you know, what was so funny?
He grew up with Ray Tucker in Helena.
Yeah.
And Ray's the only one one who could understand him.
Well, he's the only one he wanted to talk to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he would call.
There. Yeah,
he would call, and if Randy would speak to him, he'd say, "I wasn't talking to you, Rainwater." He did not like Randy at all.
Right.
But then,
he grew up with Ray, and he loved
grew up with
Ray.
Ray. Yeah. But he would always, if Ray was there and they would get talking, he'd say, "All right, hey, you remember that time I went down there and bought a hamburger and your wife bought me a cheeseburger?" At the stadium, Jimmy Lee, man. How many people was in that stadium? How many people was in that stadium? 60, 70,000? He said, "No, Jimmy Lee, I think that stadium, if it held 10,000." Well, okay, it was full. There were 10,000 people there. Jimmy Lee was so much fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And,
well, we do usually play-by-play people. We do some administrators call, but some of these people, I've done this so long now, I literally have never met in person, but I call them my Friday night family because they feel like family.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you talk to them for 13 straight weeks in the fall, then you don't hear from them again, and they call back. It's
my favorite part.
You're back.
My favorite part is Rex's top 10 or top 5.
Yeah, my Road to the Rock
rankings.
I do an overall top 10 and a top 5 in every division. That's the first rankings in the state because they're done on Friday night. I do them on the fly.
He does them. Yeah. And you know what I can say about Rex is he's been closer to right than Hootens. A whole lot more.
Who's aren't done to the next day or two. Yeah.
And
we do them on the fly.
Boy, I tell you, Hootens, they really pissed in my Cheerios years ago. When El Dorado was hosting Springdale Harbor. And now we had went to Springdale the year before and got robbed. It's fourth down. No, that was Greenwood.
That was Greenwood.
But we went to Springdale.
The University of Greenwood.
Yes.
We call them on our show.
Yes. Yeah, we went to Springdale and got robbed in that game. And so we were like, okay, that's fine. Next year you got to come to South Arkansas. And
on our turf,
And so we brought them down here, and then just unleashed on them. I mean, beat them like a stepchild.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. Hootens had picked Springdale by 13 before the game, and then after the game, when they're talking to Barry, he's like, "Well, Randy, I guess Springdale's just not as good as we thought they were." And I thought, well, maybe El Dorado's better than you thought they were.
Yeah.
By the way, we were the defending state champions.
Yeah, there's two sides to that story. Yeah.
And then picked against us on just about every game. Picked against El Dorado on just at every game that year. And there was a first round playoff game where, Randy, this one's tight. I know the game's in El Dorado, but we're going to go with whomever it was, the Patriots. Our coach that was head coach here before Scott Reed left and became the defensive coordinator there. They're in El Dorado's conference now. Anyway, over in East Arkansas. They were coming to El Dorado for a first round game. We're going to go with the Patriots by 3 at El Dorado. And I thought, the only time they're going to be up by 3 is if they get a freak field goal before the kickoff. Because I'm telling you, once this game starts,
we're going to dominate. Yeah.
And it was like mercy ruled at halftime.
Yeah.
It was just not even close. But then, to go to Little Rock and win that state championship.
I was there.
And that was the year I specifically remember a friend of mine who's a recruiter and a talent scout really for LSU was there, and he was standing up there next to us on the poop deck, is what we called it out there at War Memorial.
Yeah.
He's standing next to us, and we're in a break. Now I'm doing TV, so we're recording, we're not live.
Right.
So when we went to break, we just stopped until it was time to start again.
Yeah.
So he's standing there and he says, "Sandy, let me tell you what." He said, "What Taylor Reed, who was our quarterback for El Dorado at the time. Let me tell you what Taylor Reed has that just doesn't go on a stat sheet." He said, "We call it the Peyton Manning factor," meaning that at the end of the game, if the ball's in his hands, one of two things will happen. He'll either win the game for you, or if you lose, it won't be because he lost it. He will not be the reason you lose a game if the ball's in his hands at the end of a game.
Yeah.
And, El Dorado was up by 3 or 7 at that point, and you knew that next drive was going to be crucial. If El Dorado could go down and score, it was going to be really hard for Pine Bluff to come back and score against El Dorado's defense because it was so dominant. And there was one point, and we were like 4th and 8 at like our own 30.
Yeah.
And Taylor Reed is back in the pocket, and there's nothing open, and he just takes off, and he refuses to go down. Hit 4 or 5 times by 4 or 5 big guys from Pine Bluff, and just would not go down until he got that first down.
You're bringing back good memories, because you remember a few years later, Taylor's the backup quarterback at Ouachita.
No, that's Lucas.
Lucas. I mean, when Lucas was backup quarterback, but talk about Reed. When Lucas was backup quarterback, playing SAU, Ouachita's starting quarterback gets hurt. We're playing in the Boomtown Classic. He comes in on the field where he played his high school field, and leads us to victory in one of the most exciting Ouachita games I've called in 42 years. I thought that's Hollywood stuff right there.
If you could
come in cold in the fourth quarter and come from behind and lead your team to victory as a college quarterback on the field where you played high school football.
Well, first of all, he had nerves of steel.
Oh, absolutely.
There was no one more confident on the field than Lucas Reed.
Lucas was great that day.
If you could have taken Lucas Reed's heart and talent and put them in a 6'3" body, he would be playing on Sundays right now.
Absolutely.
He would be playing in the NFL.
Well, he would have been Division I with size. He ends up to Division II.
He was 5'8", 5'9", maybe.
But you're right. He was a winner.
He
going to find a way to win.
Funny story. When he was when Coach Reed moved here to take over as head coach, I think Lucas was in 6th or 7th grade. And that first football season, he's quarterbacking the 7th grade team. And El Dorado's up on whoever it is they're playing, Crossett or Nashville or whomever it is. They're up, and it's the end of the game, and they're down like at the 8-yard line, and the coaches say, "Now, Lucas, just take a knee." Let me tell you what Lucas is never going to do.
He's not going to take a knee.
So he gets out there and calls a play, gets in the shotgun. They wanted him under center. He's in the shotgun. Coaches are screaming. He takes the snap and looks at the coaches and drops it like he fumbles it, and then picks it up and runs it in for a touchdown.
Just to make fun of him.
Just to show I'm not taking a knee. I'm not a quitter. I'm not I'm not doing it. And Lucas was just that competitive. And
his daddy could get in his head, though.
Oh, I bet.
They'd go play golf. They'd go play golf, and he'd get in his head.
That is
big
so
time.
funny. So I have to tell you, because you were talking about getting excited, a funny moment that happened here in the Boomtown Classic. We had some great ones with SAU through the years. Won most of them, thankfully, and but we had a comeback. Had a great player. Talk about small, could have been big time in Allie Freeman that had one of the greatest games ever. And I've got the windows open. The SAU fans are sitting there on the home side, so they're the ones right under me. And Ouachita fans were on the other side. And after this last touchdown, the SAU SID comes in and he closes our window in our broadcast booth with me on the air. So we go to an ad, and I look at my
know where I'm going with that.
I look at my color man. I said, "What was that all about?" And he said, "Oh, he was doing us a favor." And I said, "What?" And he said, "You are so loud," said, all the SAU fans, and I'm totally focused on the field, Sandy, when I'm doing, I notice nothing around me when I'm doing, I'm in the zone when I'm doing play-by-play. And I hadn't even noticed, all the SAU fans have been turning around and pointing and cussing at you because you're so loud. And he was afraid they were going to throw something into the booth and hit you in the head with it. Is why he closed the window. No, he was really doing me a favor by closing our window.
My whole thing is if I'm in the booth, everything I can put my hands on belongs to me.
Yeah.
Don't touch it.
Yeah, exactly. But he was doing me a favor
I understand.
in this instance. Yeah.
I was doing a game one time, 1995, at Cedar Creek in Ruston. And it was Logansport versus Cedar Creek. Now, Logansport had a running back by the name of Cisco Perkins who averaged 11 yards a carry.
Yeah.
If you handed him the ball, on average, it was a first down. Had like 34 touchdowns in the regular season. Just astronomical numbers. Man among boys, 6'2", about 195, and you couldn't stop him. And so we're there at Cedar Creek, and I'm doing the game from the press box. Days of bag phones, by the way.
Yeah.
And have my whole setup and headset on. And Cisco breaks one off and 80-something yards, touchdown. Next time he touches the ball, 70-something yards, touchdown. And I'm, Cisco Perkins, touchdown, And this guy turns around and says, I can hear you. And I said, and so can everyone else. I don't know what to tell you, buddy. They really thought they had a chance. And that's the worst ones, is when you play a team that you so outmatch and then you realize, oh, I'm sorry, they thought they had a chance.
Yeah.
I guess a puncher's chance. They thought they had an opportunity. We had a coach, and I don't remember what school it was, but they came to El Dorado to play, at that time now, the 3-time defending state champion El Dorado Wildcats.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what exactly transpired, but we are up maybe 35-7. It's a blowout, and it's still in the first half. And this coach sits his team down on the field and then sits down with them, and they're not getting up. And we're sitting there trying to fill time, figuring out what's going on here. And finally, the sheriff's department had to come physically remove him from the field. The Union County Sheriff's Office had to physically remove this guy from the field to get that game back underway.
To get it back under. Wow.
And I'm just like, what were you thinking? You were coming to El Dorado.
Yeah.
You were coming to the Dog Pound. And you're going to play, and you thought you had a chance. What was it? What?
Well, given your East Texas experiences, one of our weirder broadcasts is, we played them at home a couple of years, and we were playing a little small college, Texas College in Tyler, that would usually beat by about 80 points. But we agreed to go to there once because they told us we're going to play in the main Tyler Stadium there. Well, it turns out they had lied to us that they were having one of these all-day jamborees. Tyler Lee was playing, Tyler was playing. So they move us out to this little country school out from town. Is there a Chapel Hill, Chapel Hill, North Carolina? That's what it was. And so one long open press box. I feel like I'm back doing high school again. And we get everything set up. And this guy from Texas College comes and says, but we got so-and-so and so-and-so in there. You got to move. Well, I'm mad then.
Yeah.
But we go and put all the equipment. We're 2 minutes, literally, from airtime. Another guy from Texas College comes in. Says, you can't sit here. You're going to have to move over there where we originally were. And I stand up. Now, I hadn't had red hair in a long time, but I still got a redheaded temper. And my crew just hadn't often seen it. They said, we never seen that size of you. And I said, sir, we've already moved from over there once. And if you make me move again, there will be a fist fight. And he backed down like, oh, okay, go ahead.
If it's going to be a fist fight.
They didn't even have a radio broadcast, and they kept trying to move us. And I thought, never again.
I've called games from the stands.
Yeah, we did.
The stands would have been better than this press box outside of Tyler. I can
We've done
you.
that. We've called games from the stands. It never bothered me to call a game from the stands. I liked it personally.
We got a good signal
out here with the fans.
With the fans. I mean, it just made it so easy to hear.
As long as you got a good signal.
And people would congregate around us to hear us. And what we were doing. It was, and of course, then there were places like Watson Chapel where it's a deer stand. It's a big deer stand, but it's a deer stand where you're calling games from. And we're over in there, and they have us in this little room. And I promise you, if this table would fit in, this table wouldn't fit in there. It was
not with
small.
a chair.
There's three of us.
We've got some of those. UAM, SAU aren't much bigger than that.
There's three of us in that room. Another broadcast crew's next to us, and they're trying to get on the air, and you can tell they're struggling. They're not on the air yet. We're just minutes away from kickoff. And so I mentioned to the owner of that other radio station, hey, I see you're struggling to get on the air. Is there anything? I always took 2 sets of equipment with us on the road when we were doing radio, so that if this first set just went down, I have a whole backup set. Is there anything in my set that y'all can use to get you on the air? I don't need anything from you. Yep. And then he turns around and walks off. He walks out of the press box. And his his color commentator looks over at me and says, not unless you have something that'll pull his head out of his butt. They end up doing the game on a flip phone with it taped to the wall.
Oh my gosh.
And so the play-by-play guy would lean up and and that's a first down at the 40-yard line. And he'd back up, and then the color commentator would lean in, and he would give the color of that play.
Yeah.
And that's how they did. And I felt so sorry for him because I've done games like that. I told you I did a game on a payphone. So
I thought I was going to have to do a cell phone game this year. And we were at Southern Nazarene. And, of course, we now transmit by internet. And all of their internet had gone down. The high school had played there the night before. Somebody had flipped the wrong switch. They had all these student workers up there. They don't do home radio at Southern Nazarene. Only school in the conference that does.
Wow.
So they're in no hurry to get anything fixed.
Right.
Like I said, is there not somebody technically that works for the school you can call at home? Well, it's Saturday. We don't. I'm really upset. I mean, Casey Modal, who was engineering for us, he's a dean at Ouachita, but he's into technical stuff. He just took over. Where's your main box? And he started flipping switches. By golly, he got us on there 2 minutes before airtime somehow.
Yeah.
But he just basically went in there and took over in their
main
press
booth
where all the scoreboard was and everything. Got under there. Yeah, I'll take over now. But that's what it took. Otherwise, I would have been on the phone.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Oh no,
because we were out in the stands. Sandy would make sure that we had a line in the press box.
Yeah,
and there were times that there was 2 radio stations calling, and they thought that was their line.
Yeah.
And, Sandy said, well, who's going to go in there and tell them that they got
explain to them that they got
to
unplugged
from that line?
Yeah.
And those were
different.
Ours. Yeah. Those were different days.
Yeah, they were.
Well, luckily, I have never had to use it, but, Tyline makes a phone app now that
you know how much that is?
Gives you broadcast quality sound, and it's on my phone.
Okay,
because luckily we flagship through Cumulus in Little Rock now, so we're the big company, and they did that for me.
That is the most expensive app I've ever bought in my life.
Yeah, I could have guessed.
It was $999.99.
Wow,
$1,000. They could have showed you 1,000.
Well, Cumulus did it for me, luckily. So that makes me feel a little better to have that.
Well, let me tell you, that is a fabulous. It really is. Yeah. It blows me away at how good it is.
I did a couple of scoreboard shows on it during COVID, actually.
Yeah.
When they weren't letting me in the studio at first.
Now we're streaming games live, video,
right?
And man, we got us a Starlink.
Yeah, that's great.
And let me just tell you,
set that sucker up and you're going.
You hook up and you can't use the bandwidth that it projects. And
well, we've gone. This technology just amazes me because I still think back to the old phone days and how I knew how to do it. There, I could strip down wires with a knife, and everything else. And I think now, but for both High School Show on Friday night and the Ouachita Network, as of this last year, we're now satellite. We're with Westwood One.
Oh, wow.
On a Westwood One.
So you're not even having to use old barracks boxes
not
or
anymore.
any of that. Wow, that's even better.
Yeah. So you could have never told me we would get to that day, but here we are. Putting it up on the Westwood One.
Credit where credit's due. My partner in South Arkansas now is Grant Merrill, who was actually kind of the father of that scoreboard show and kind of helped launch that thing. And
absolutely, we did before Grant took it over. The old Arkansas Radio Network is when I started at a show,
KARN,
and it was still from 10 till midnight, but the only live show was from 10 till 11, and then from 11 to 12, we would tape a show that they would run and wanted to sound live at 7 a.m. the next morning. So I would have to send, you know how we have to do this radio, I'd have to write myself in big letters last night instead of tonight. They wanted to sound live last night, last evening, and I'd put those before me, and then you'd pretend it was the next morning, and people would always say, and I never let up, man, you were up until 11 last night, and I heard you back on the air at 7:15 Saturday morning. You get after
doing what it takes.
Just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but that was, that was live to tape. That we would do all those shows.
Those KARN studios. I used to go and sit in for Chuck.
Oh, yeah.
When Chuck was going to be gone, and I would host Sports Talk.
Yep.
Was his daily show. And man, I had some great times. As a matter of fact, when Arkansas went to LSU was number 1 in the nation. Arkansas wasn't even going to make a bowl. It was going to be Houston Nuts last year, I believe, with the Razorbacks. And Arkansas goes to Baton Rouge and triple overtime and beats LSU.
Yeah.
And I'm hosting that day.
They go on to be national champions.
Yeah, they still go on to be national champions.
We're still Friday night in those same studios, and then that's where we flagship out of on Saturdays too. And I'm such a creature of habit because, your engineer, you can do everything right on the road. If your guy back in the studio screws it up, it doesn't matter.
That's right. That's right.
It's your most important. And
so is Russ
he's
McKinney
no longer in radio, but I still pay Russ McKinney to do both Friday nights and Saturday nights because that's who I'm comfortable with.
You better
and he's
believe
the best in the business.
He is the best in the business, and that's what I was just going to say.
So I still pay Russ McKinney to do both. Yes.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you, Russ is, first of all, he's a consummate professional.
Oh, he's a great professional.
So one year, and I don't remember what year, but I'm doing Chuck's show. Chuck's out of town or whatever. And one of the employees of Citadel was going to call in and do a live segment from a sponsored live segment, basically, from a bar. Mm-hmm. And the problem is this guy had evidently already been there for quite a while. And had taken his liberties while there, and was hammered.
Oh my gosh,
hammered when he calls in, and so he tries to pick a fight with me on the air.
Oh my goodness!
And he was like, "Anybody but Houston Nutt. We need anybody to coach this team but Houston Nutt." And I'm like, "Okay, Urban Meyer." And because Urban Meyer had just been fired for some kind of NCAA violation, which seems to be a pattern, but. So Urban Meyer, well, no. I said, okay, well, you said anybody. And that pissed him off. And so, man, he tries to light into me. And I was like, click, took him off the air. We go to commercial break. We come back. And Russ said, hey, he's on the phone for you. And I was like, okay, I answered. He's like, that's a sponsor segment. And I said, you had yet to even talk about them. You're drunk, okay? You don't know what I am. I'm coming down the studios. I'm going to beat your ass. I said, I'll be here till 8 o'clock, buddy. I'll be here till 8 o'clock. Bring it on down. Come on in. And Russ was like, I have never known him to act like that. He said he's obviously intoxicated. So Russ called Gordon Hodges, who was the operations manager at that time.
He used to work with Gordon
and explained to him what was going on. And of course, then Gordon calls Jim Beard, and Jim Beard, who was vice president and general manager for Citadel. Yeah. And Jim had been courting me, trying to get me to join Citadel, wanting me to go to, I believe it was Lake Charles. Mm-hmm. And actually invited me to play golf with him one time in Maumelle. So I show up to play golf, and his regional vice president's there. And I realized this is a job interview. And I was like, guys, I'm not interested in a job. I've got a job.
I've got a job already.
And, and I'll tell you, working for Bill Nolan, man, I didn't want to work anywhere else.
Exactly.
And, anyway, so he gets a hold of Jim Beard, and next thing I know, Russ like, hey, man, he wants to talk to you. I was like, I'm done talking. I'm done talking to him. Mm-hmm. And so evidently he was calling to apologize, which fine. I don't care.
Didn't matter anyway.
Didn't matter to me.
Not at that point.
Yeah. You're only calling to apologize because Jim Beard called you.
Exactly. That's the only reason. Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to read you a lyric. I'm going to read you a lyric. You tell me what song this is. This is a misquoted lyric. Okay. So it's the way a lot of people say it, but it's not really the lyric. Hold me closer, Tony Danza.
Tiny Dancer.
Elton John. Yeah. There's a bathroom on the right.
Stones. Bad Moon Rising.
That would be CCR.
Them two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, them two. Yeah. No, just
Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah. Wrapped up like a douche, another runner in the night.
Wrapped up on the deuce. And that is Manfred Mann. I don't know if Manfred Mann.
Blinded by the light.
I couldn't have told you the group.
Manfred Mann and the Earth Band.
Yeah.
There you go.
Young and sweet, only 7 teeth.
17. What is that song? Was that?
Dancing Queen. Yeah.
Is that Elton John again?
No, ABBA.
Huh?
ABBA.
ABBA.
Yeah,
There we go.
Yeah.
They made a whole musical out of ABBA songs.
They did. They did. Well, Rex, we get
And an
letters.
ABBA comeback.
We get letters from our listeners. I say letters, messages from our listeners. Sometimes just to roast us, and those are
Not
fun.
sometimes.
Yeah, that's become pretty much all it is. We have some of those I'll read here shortly. We also get messages from people who are asking for advice. Now, why anyone in their right mind would ever take advice from Boomer and me, I will never know.
There you go.
And we tell them that up top.
We tell them that right up front. We are idiots.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of times we'll tell you something, but you don't mean you have to take it and believe it. You know, we're idiots, and don't ever forget that. We've got some of those I'm going to read for us here in just a minute, but we're going to take a break first. Okay. All right? We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more of Off the Back Porch right after this.
The brand new deli is open at Davis Farms Country Market, featuring Boar's Head cheese and meats. Try the Turkey Bacon Ranch, the London Broil Roast Beef, the Club Sandwich, or a fresh and crispy BLT. Check out their Cranberry and Pecan Chicken Salad, not to mention fresh hot gumbo, the soup of the day, and more. Davis Farms Country Market, 4523 Junction City Highway, or call 870-639-1323.
Anyone can be so curious. Get ready to see the world more curiously, because Blippi is coming to your hometown. The Be Like Blippi Tour. Join Blippi and Mika live on stage for a one-of-a-kind interactive adventure that inspires kids to move like, play like, and explore just like Blippi. Saturday, April 11th, the First Financial Music Hall in El Dorado. Tickets are on sale now at eldomad.com. Break out your orange Blippi glasses for an unforgettable experience that encourages kids to be like Blippi.
Serving South Arkansas for 25 years, and all the while expanding and growing throughout the state, ProMed Ambulance is proving their motto of world-class care and hometown values. For example, their new mobile integrated healthcare communication center. This state-of-the-art facility allows communication specialists to work directly with local 911 call centers to ensure the closest medical team is always dispatched to any emergency. World-class care and hometown values. For more information and career opportunities, go to ProMedAmbulance.com.
With a name you trust, you can count on us. Glen Mechanical, plumbing, heating, and air.
For over 6 decades, Glen Mechanical has been specializing in HVAC, plumbing, and all mechanical jobs. 3 generations family-owned and operated since 1956. Glen Mechanical's business is based on relationships. They support and give back to the communities they work in. Contact them for all of your HVAC, plumbing, and mechanical needs. GlenMechanical.com.
When it comes to protecting your home or business, trust the name that's been serving South Arkansas for 3 generations, Cross Roofing and Sheet Metal. From residential roofs to large commercial projects, the experienced team at Cross delivers quality you can see and reliability you can count on. Cross Roofing and Sheet Metal, built on trust, proven by results. Call Cross Roofing today. Put a solid future over your head.
Hey, welcome back for more of Off the Back Porch with Sandy and Boomer and our special guest, Rex Nelson. Rex, we're glad to have you this week.
This has been fun. Thank you.
I told you we get messages from our viewers, and so I'm going to read this one. Dear Sandy and Boomer, I am originally from Union County and now live in Northwest Arkansas. I love your podcast. It's great to see people I've known all my life come on and talk about whatever it is they're truly passionate about. I never thought a bracket challenge would turn into me writing you for advice and a full-blown personal crisis, but here we are. I'm a 33-year-old guy with a coworker I've known for about 5 years. We've always had a great, easy friendship. We joke around, we grab lunch sometimes, talk about work and life. I've seen her strictly as a friend. No complications, no weirdness, and then March Madness happens. We made a bet on one of the games. Nothing serious, just office bragging rights, except she decided to raise the stakes. The loser had to enter a local bikini contest at a bar here in Fayetteville. I agreed, fully confident in my bracket skills. Sure enough, my team won. To her credit, she followed through on the bet. I went to support her, fully expecting it to be awkward but funny. It was not awkward. She looked incredible. I mean, I always knew she was attractive, but this was a whole different level. Confidence, presence, the whole thing. She ended up taking second place, and I'm pretty sure half the crowd was wondering just who she was. Now I have a problem. Ever since that night, I cannot seem to put her back in the just a friend category. It's like my brain hit a reset button I didn't authorize. Suddenly, I notice everything about her, how she laughs, how easy it is to talk to her, looking into her eyes, and yes, the fact that she clearly looks great in a setting I had never seen before. The issue is I don't want to ruin our friendship. We work together, so there's some risk there. I also have no idea if she's ever seen me as anything more than just the guy she sometimes grabs lunch with. So my question is, do I say something and risk making things weird at work? Or do I keep my mouth shut and try to unsee the bikini contest? By the way, seems impossible. Signed, Bracket Buster.
Keep your mouth shut.
You think so?
Oh, yes, definitely. Or get another job. If she's that important to you and look that good in a bikini.
Get another job,
Just get another job.
Yeah.
But don't pursue that. Not someone you work with. Take it from me.
Yeah, that can get complicated when you're working with somebody.
I made some notes here. I was like, first of all, Bracket, you didn't just win a bet. You got bonus level.
Yeah, that was. And she was the one that said she raised the stakes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone you already liked and respected.
Right.
You now see in a different light, and your brain was like, hey, hold up. That's normal.
Yeah, that is normal.
You know. Now, it can go from a romantic comedy to a visit to HR just like that.
Real quick.
You know, you can end up in a
Real
training
quick.
video.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Training video.
A training video,
I thought you
yeah.
said train.
Yeah.
Train make videos about
Training, yeah.
So my first thing is no grand
One of those
confession.
harassment classes, yeah.
No grand confession. You don't want to go in there and be like, I've loved you ever since.
No.
The nacho bar at the staff meeting. Don't do that.
Yeah.
However, if you want to explore, let me ask you this. Has she ever mentioned a boyfriend or a husband? Has she ever one time mentioned a significant other? If not, there's a good clue.
Yeah.
I think if she wanted to keep you in the friend zone at some point over this 5-year period that you've been friends, she would have thrown out there my boyfriend, my fiance, and my husband. To make sure you knew where the boundary was. If she's never thrown those out there, she may be interested in you as well.
So you think a relationship at work is okay then? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not exactly what I'm saying.
Well, then
Once you get another job, then I think it's okay.
So exactly what are you saying? You're going to get there, I know, but...
First of all, let's make sure it's not applause syndrome.
A what?
Applause syndrome. You saw her, she won second place. She looked different.
Yeah.
Everyone admired her, and all of a sudden it would be something nice to have on your arm.
In your eyes,
You know, and so let's make sure it's not applause syndrome. But maybe, you know, hey, I know we go to lunch a lot, but instead of lunch, would you ever like to grab dinner? To me, that's a safe, non-invasive way of asking her out. Yeah, the work concept, I think you just have to see where that goes. I mean, look, there's workplace romances all the time, and some of them work out. Just the majority of them don't.
I was going to say, probably in the minority that work out.
Yeah. But then
the others go in that training video you were talking about.
Or again, someone has to move to another company.
Yeah.
You know, and but I wouldn't move to another company on the come. I wouldn't, you know, be betting that an eight's going to roll out. You know,
Well, I might, you know, if I'm planning on moving, I'd say, you know, there's a new restaurant I'd like to try. You want to go? You know, just something real lighthearted.
Yeah, just make it real easy, and you know,
and then see how it goes from there.
Yeah, definitely. So there you go, Bracket Buster. That's the best we can give you in the world of advice. Dear Sandy and Boomer, love the show. It's like getting to sit at the grown-up table for the first time. Of course, it's between two old uncles who smell like scotch. Kelly from Dumas.
I love it.
Kelly, it wouldn't be scotch. You have to be a real drinker to drink scotch.
No, we're not real drinkers.
I can't do that. So, dear Sandy and Boomer, my son says, ever notice when Sandy says quick story, it's code for cancel your next appointment? Robin and Chittister.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Dear Sandy and Boomer, I like how every conversation has at least one well back then built into it.
Well, sure, that's all I got is back then. I got more behind me than in front of me.
I hope I'm like that.
All of us here.
I hope I'm like that when I get old.
Sure.
Katie from Haynesville.
Yeah.
Dear Sandy and Boomer, I've noticed that half the show is storytelling. The other half is Boomer trying to make you land the plane. Thomas and El Dorado.
Nice. Nice.
Dear Sandy and Boomer, Y'all ever actually finish a topic, or is that not the goal?
No.
It's stream of consciousness. Yeah.
Kenna and Warren.
That's what Amanda says.
Yeah.
She says, so this is just a show about nothing, right?
Pretty much.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I brought no pad, paper, you know.
Honestly,
I know.
it takes work to make it look like that.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway. Dear Sandy and Boomer, I don't know why people feel the need to roast y'all. Keep it up, guys. It's the only podcast where I feel like I'm part of the conversation, even if I didn't ask to be. Abby and Parker's Chapel. Dear Sandy and Boomer, I tuned in for a guest interview and got a history lecture with interruptions. Angie in El Dorado.
Wow.
Dear Sandy and Boomer, I'm convinced Sandy has never told the short version of anything. Tammy in Hampton. So I'm seeing pattern here.
I do see a pattern.
I love it.
Dear Sandy and Boomer, I figured out why your podcast is so successful. I think it's because Sandy drives the conversation and Boomer spends all of his time grabbing the wheel trying to point it at something. Chris in Fordyce. Chris, that's pretty accurate.
I wish I was that good.
Yeah, keep this thing between the ditches over there. Yeah.
Dear Sandy and Boomer, I have to admit, I thought having a podcast would take hours of research and work each week. Obviously, that's not the same for y'all. Your show has the structure of a nap. Allie and Ruston.
That's great.
The structure of a nap.
Dear Sandy and Boomer, watching this podcast must be what it's like for my husband to watch me try to end a phone call with my dad. Kylie and Magnolia.
So they're saying we go on
but they're listening all over. Look at this.
That's it.
This is great.
Dear Sandy and Boomer, have y'all ever considered going rogue and, I don't know, finishing a thought? Austin and El Dorado. Yes, Austin, here's a thought for you. Never mind.
Yeah. We'll get back to that.
Dear Sandy and Boomer, I've never seen anyone ignore a perfectly available and glaring stopping point so easily. Tyler in Sarepta.
So their theme this week is we do go on a little bit.
Shut it off whenever you get tired.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
It's you've got they've got control.
You
of this.
control it. Yeah, exactly.
I'll say this: Rex's show is normally less than an hour.
Well, we go about 30 minutes on ours. Mine's basically a one-on-one interview. Is what it is.
And again, like you said, sometimes you get those interviews in 30 minutes. It's 25 minutes too long.
Yeah, exactly.
I try to do this podcast a little more Joe Rogan style, and that is, I think when you get people and they sit down and you have them for 2.5 or 3 hours, you can really get who they are.
This has been so fun.
And they, I think a lot of times, and especially for people who are non-broadcasters, and they're nervous. They look up and they see those cameras. They see the producer sitting back there and these big microphones in their face, and they get nervous. And that first 30 minutes is just trying to get them to calm down.
Right.
Which is why most of the time...
And then once they forget the cameras, they become themselves, if they'll ever forget
Most of the time, that's why I start off most of our podcasts with something that has absolutely nothing to do with the guest.
Yeah.
With the funny.
Yeah, with the funny stuff, and just so they can get at ease. First of all, they see that we're just clowns, and we're going to laugh at ourselves.
We do a bit called the Florida Man. You can look up on any day.
Oh, yeah.
Just pick a date.
Associated Press story. Florida man arrested for whatever.
Yeah.
Florida man dies in.
Yes.
And we do one called Drunk Hire Stupid. And Sandy reads. And
I
we have to decide.
I read a scenario, and then Boomer has to decide was
he drunk or stupid,
or any combination of all three.
Maybe, combination.
We've had those, and there's lots of stuff. We get tons of weird news, and
so Boomer, Tiger Woods, drunk or stupid?
High.
Yeah, definitely.
He took a breathalyzer and zeroed on it.
So what happened? I missed out. I missed whatever happened.
So
he rolled his Land Rover.
It was opioids. Yeah.
He rolled his Land Rover, and
this is like the other day.
Yeah. Day before yesterday.
Yes, we taped this just a couple days ago.
Going from the golf course, and he said he was looking down at his phone and didn't stop in time.
See which one of them blondes he was getting a text from?
I don't know what he was doing, but I've looked down at my phone several times and had to jam on the brakes, but I've never rolled my Land Rover.
Me neither. And Sandy, we talk about me like an Animal House. I think we all still have a sophomoric humor, and I think if you've looked, you will agree. Go look at the different memes with his mugshot. They're hilarious, aren't they?
His mugshot is
rough.
Is rough looking.
Yeah.
It's like 2:00 in the morning. and I'm looking
And
for
nothing good happens
and
at
I'm
2 o'clock in the
looking for
morning.
another Quaalude.
And if you go online, people have put all kinds of captions with that too.
Yeah, that's
what he said.
I knew something happened. I didn't know what it was.
So also
rolled his vehicle.
What about Houston Nutt? Did he have an event?
I don't know.
See, that must have been bad news that
Internet.
I got.
Yeah, I think
On
I
the
would have
internet
heard.
said-
I hadn't heard of anything at all.
Said that
And
he had
I'm,
had a stroke.
No,
And so
I think that's probably.
I turned on ESPN and all that, and I didn't hear anything. I
Yeah.
said, "Well, why would you make?"
Yeah,
why
his
would you-
youngest brother Dennis is head basketball coach there at Washington. I would have heard it something happened in the Nutt family.
Yeah.
So no.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that was yesterday.
I never was the biggest Houston Dale Nutt fan.
But you still don't want him to have a stroke.
No, gosh, no.
I like him
To
individually.
me, the funniest thing and what I'm saying is as a coach, I just thought you have that much talent as that team had. There's no reason you should have been in a national championship game.
But no one can make a delivery like Houston Dale Nutt.
That's true.
Isn't that right, Danny Nutt?
Yeah, Houston Dale.
Isn't that right?
He one thing about it, he loved the helmet.
Oh yeah,
and that was his biggest thing.
He loved Arkansas.
He was a
all
rah-rah
Arkansas.
guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately,
still loves our state. We've had him back at the Touchdown Club.
Unfortunately, to me, he got put in a precarious spot between Frank Broyles himself and Gus Malzahn.
Oh yeah.
And also, unfortunately,
situation.
I feel like Gus has taken the most heat for that, and I'm not sure it was his fault.
Oh no!
Now,
I mean,
Gus could have stopped it.
Well, it was bad for everybody, but the bottom line is, you have an athletic director forcing a coordinator on a head coach. I mean,
That's like forcing a sales manager on a GM.
That's never going to work.
No.
Yeah. You just cannot do that.
You can't make them. Yeah.
No, not when the rumblings in the state are that your job, you could be on the hot seat next year.
Yeah.
And that was, that was never going to end well.
Nope.
And unfortunately, Frank Broyles never faced the criticism for all of that. That was, it fell mainly on Malzahn and some on Houston Nutt. And it was wrong. It was wrong.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, now Malzahn could have stopped it. All he had to do was walk out to the press at any point and say, I work for Houston Dale Nutt at his pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's the head coach.
He's the head coach, and left it at that. But then they got into that pissing contest, and then next thing you know, he's telling Chuck Barrett, he's like, "That's a called play, Chuck, and I called it." Good for you.
Remember, that's now so famous. I can remember exactly where I was. I was going to an ASU game in Jonesboro. That was an afternoon game, and I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh!" I was listening to the post-game show somewhere around Amagon when that happened. I can still remember.
Yeah, I just
telling my wife
that was just like sophomore.
Make sure. Yeah,
it's kind of like my 6-year-old. He got a happy face the other day, which is an event because we hadn't had a whole lot of those recently. He got a happy face on his conduct the other day, and he said, "Since I got a happy face, can I have a treat?" I said, "No. I'm not going to reward you for something you should be doing
every day.
anyway."
Yeah.
Ted said, I could train a monkey to sit still in his seat. I said, not this monkey. He said, you see.
It's kind of like one of the guys that trained me, and people were deathly afraid of him. You've heard stories of when John Robert Starr was managing editor of the Arkansas Democrat, but Starr was at some conference one time, and it was all about you'll like this, supervising people, employee recognition, and how you do employee recognition, and do you do monthly awards? Do you have a picnic or so forth? So it got to Starr, and I said, "Do you do any thanks to your employees?" And he said, "Yeah, we do it every 2 weeks. It's called a paycheck." And that was it.
A lot of those old school guys, that was,
Oh, yeah.
That was your
thanks. Yeah. We gave you a paycheck.
Sit down, do your job, and shut up.
I worked for a general manager.
Exactly.
I worked for a general manager in radio one time. Here was his philosophy on sales contest. At the end of the month, the lowest salesperson goes.
Yeah.
And he would stick to that. And
Star's
he
winter
would fire the lowest salesperson.
Star's winter weather policy. And you'll understand because you got to put a paper out every day, just like radio's got to be on every day. His winter weather policy was there's no such thing as a snow day. You are to use your 8 hours trying to get to work. If after 8 hours you haven't made it, fine, turn around and go back and go home.
Wow.
And we'll pay you for that day.
Yeah.
But you have to work those 8 hours. And if
doing something, trying to get to work.
Yeah, so you spend 8 hours on the road trying to get there.
Shoveling your driveway or something.
Whatever, yeah.
Okay, before we go, Rex, a couple of things real quick.
Yes.
A coup occurred this week, and that is the El Dorado Wildcats have a new head football coach.
And a great one. Good friend of mine.
Brett Shockley, who has spent 22 years at Ouachita Baptist University coaching the offensive line and tight ends.
I was wondering when we was going to get
and
to
when
this.
you think about tight ends that come out of OBU, the first one that comes to my mind is Philip Supernall.
Yeah.
Who went on to the
play for
NFL.
the Tennessee Titans,
And went to the NFL, who's the son of former country music singer,
music star.
Doug Supernall.
Doug. Mm-hmm.
And so Philip played at OBU, was drafted as a tight end. I think he was drafted by Seattle and ended up being traded to the Titans. But Brett Shockley was his coach. And then Brett was also the head recruiter for the last 19 years.
And he's incredible. He's got such good relationships with every high school's coach in the state. And I figured after that many years that he was probably a lifer and he'd just stay until Todd Knight, the head coach, retired. So as a Ouachita guy, I hate to lose him, but I'm excited for El Dorado because let me tell you, you got a first-class coach. I mean, this is somebody that's been considered for college head coaching jobs.
That's what
and you've got him at the high school level now. And we have a group, my old crew, we talk football year-round, a text group, And, of course, the text started flying Monday night when we heard they had made the hire. And I told him, I said, the good thing about...
Which we broke here.
You broke that.
We broke that story.
Now.
Good. All right. Well, I started... and I thank you. I saw missed a call from you Monday night. I think you were trying to tip me off.
Yep.
And I didn't have my phone on me at the time. But I told the group, I said, here's what I think's upside. I think he's going to be so good that he's going to have some really good college talent come out of El Dorado in the years to come, and I have a feeling he'll direct them to Ouachita if they need any direction.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm excited. Of course, he's a former Razorback, 3-year letterman for the Razorbacks.
You won't miss him. He's about 6'9". He's a giant of a man.
And so Jax Sanford, my son, who does play-by-play for us this season, he told me, he said, Dad, everything I know about football I've learned from you and Coach Shockley. And Jax was attached to Coach Shockley's hip for 3 years at OBU. And as an assistant and as a trainer.
Todd Knight is now the winningest college football coach in Arkansas history. Frank Broyles is third on that list. Actually, the guy that coached Todd Knight, Buddy Benson at Ouachita, second. So Ouachita has 1 and 2. But I'm telling you, Todd Knight will be quick to tell you that Brett Shockley was a major reason that he got to that milestone.
I believe that. Yeah. I do. I've had limited interaction with Coach Shockley over the years. But and I was going to say, I told our staff earlier this week, I said, this is a huge hire. I said, y'all may not understand or know, but I said, this guy's been being touted as a college or university head coach for the last several years.
That's a statement to the rest of high school football all over Arkansas. They have made a statement.
There was
that we're serious about.
There was a couple of years ago, and I think I remember the school, but I'm not going to say, where his name was floated out there, and I thought, if they're smart, that's what they'll do, and he turned them down. To stay at OBU, and now he's coming to El Dorado, and El Dorado is, at least in recent and modern history, has somewhat of a domination that they've done in the 6A.
And it's obvious they want that back. Again, they've got the right man.
Last year, making the semifinals and losing a 3-point game to the University of Shiloh, and who was fabulous to us, by the way. I meant to compliment them 1,000 times. The Shiloh staff and administration was phenomenal.
That's good to hear.
To my staff. Of course, prior to that, Stephen Jones wins a state championship. And then Obviously, prior to that was the Scott Reed era. And
but they divided the state differently because Texarkana, El Dorado, and Pine Bluff were so dominant for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of going north-south, we went east-west.
Yeah, exactly.
So we could move it around.
Yeah.
And so that just proves that El Dorado and, pretty much across the south of Arkansas were dominant in 6A.
And again, I always equate coaching the 6A with like coaching the SEC. In smaller schools, smaller A's, you just have to put your best 11 guys on the field. Even into 5A, although you'll have some specialized players, but for the most part, you're just putting your best 11 guys on the field. Either side of the ball.
They play both ways.
South Arkansas was very dominant even when I played 50 years ago, because you get one classification under El Dorado, and I want you to listen at this South Arkansas conference. You talk about the SEC that we played in. Back then, we had Arkadelphia, Malvern, Magnolia, Camden and Camden Fairview. That's when they had two schools. Ashdown, Crossett were all in the same conference then.
Was it 4A then? Were y'all all 4A?
It was 3 at the time. Yeah, 4 was the larger conference.
In Louisiana, we went to 4A, and that was the largest conference at that time in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I wondered if
so
it
in
was
the
the
70s, but boy, you talk about a heck of a conference.
Murderer's Row,
Yeah, and it's
Malvern was
a long way from Arkadelphia to Crossett, but but it was a South Arkansas conference, of all the schools that size.
And
and it was a murderer's row.
El Dorado has, I think you said a lot. I think El Dorado sent a message to the rest of 6A.
That's exactly what they did.
Said,
"We're back, boys.
We're coming.
We're coming for you."
And I don't know what the future holds. I can tell you this: we've got a really good quarterback coming in.
Yep.
And he played backup all year this year, but he's got the goods. And I expect. One of the things that I liked about it is I was like, all right, we hired an offensive line and tight end coach. Maybe we'll utilize a tight end.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite times was seeing John Tyson when he played for El Dorado in that little tight end drag route that they had. And it seemed like every time we couldn't get vertical, we couldn't get vertical downfield, that little drag route across the middle would open up. And then all of a sudden your linebackers start cheating, and now we got you.
Oh, yeah.
Now we got you.
Yeah.
Our speed on the outside would get you. But so I'm excited about the Coach Shockley era.
You should be.
Our condolences to OBU, but thank you.
Well, to tell you how good a job he made that, my understanding as we taped this, it hadn't been officially announced, so I hope I'm right, but that he will be replaced as offensive line coach by the offensive coordinator from Delta State, which is very strong.
So
that's how good a job he made it, because the guy's stepping down from a coordinator's position to a line coach's position.
And, I'm sure anyone with any tenure looks at Coach Knight and thinks, it won't be long. It may not be this year or next year or even the next, but
And as the winningest college coach ever in Arkansas, if you're a young upcoming college coach, you like that on your resume.
You want to, that's right.
And I worked under Todd Knight for a while.
Yeah. And I tell you what I appreciate about Todd Knight. You may or may not remember, but Ouachita had a football player from California by the name of Lamont Fitz.
I do remember that name.
Lamont worked for me for free at my Arkadelphia stations because it was required for his degree. He worked all night at a hotel in Hot Springs, manning the desk, played football, and then worked for free for me during his off time.
Unbelievable.
And Lamont not only just has become a great friend and a good person, but Lamont told me when he got to OBU, said Coach Knight sat him down after he was on the team and said, "Let me ask you a question. Do you know Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior?" And Lamont was like, "No." And he said, "Do I need to?" And he was like, "You do." And Coach Knight spent an hour and a half with him explaining the gospel story.
Todd Knight raises men. I mean, he really does. I know that's right for a college coach, but yeah.
Right there in Todd Knight's office, gave his heart to Jesus.
Yeah.
And that told me everything I ever needed to know about Todd Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a football coach and he wants to win.
But it's a family.
But it's more than just W's and L's.
Kids long after they're gone. Yeah.
And so that was that. That was the first thing
right.
we want to talk. And then the final thing, coming up on June 4th, there's some rumor that you and Chuck Barrett are going to be here in El Dorado.
So I'm told. It's on my calendar.
So
I'm really. You talk about some old war stories now. Because Chuck is an old small town radio guy from Clarksville. So we got a lot in common. We're both small town radio guys.
The event is going to be called Calling the Hogs, Stories from the Booth. Rex is going to kind of guide the conversation, and Chuck is going to be there to just tell us some of those stories from in the booth, and maybe the stuff we didn't see, the stuff we didn't know. For example, I've always wanted to know, how the heck can Matt Jones run so fast and look so slow on TV?
Yeah.
I've never understood that. No one's catching him. He's putting distance between him and everybody else, but it just don't look like he's running that hard.
He was so long.
Yeah, that was it.
So what medium are they going to be on?
It is going to be live, and it's going to be at the First Financial Music Hall. Okay. And their tickets will be available soon, and we will have tables available, and that's being put on by South Arkansas now.
Okay. That sounds fun.
I think so. I think it's going to be a great night. I have a feeling it's going to sell out pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, but we'll have more information on that coming up. But just wanted to get that out there while we had
and it
Rex
won't go
here.
as long as this, so you'll be able to go to bed that night. just so people know.
Now there is going to be a nice dinner involved. So your ticket comes with not only the night's entertainment, but I believe we're going to have
steak and potatoes.
Not only with steak, but we're going to have several choices of protein and lots of sides and
Sandy's going to put me up for the night. Now it may be in a tent in his backyard. He didn't.
Well, that's fine.
He didn't say where, and I probably should have.
I'll empty out the storage building between now and then.
Before signing on, I probably should have cleared that up.
Yeah, we'll get them hinges put back on them doors.
Yeah, easy enough, And listen, that possum's used to people. He ain't gonna bother you.
or the raccoon.
This age, one thing I have learned is I don't see as good at night anymore. So that El Dorado to Little Rock at night drive, I don't dodge deer like I used to. So now I'd rather stay if it's a night event.
That's right. Well, Rex, again, man, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you. This is fun. Thank you
so much. So much. A year in the making to get you here, and just know you have an open invitation.
Oh, that's great.
And it doesn't have to be on this day of the week. If you know you're going to be in town, I'll just let us know, and we'll work around your schedule.
Right.
And if you ever need a podcast guest, let me know.
There we go.
And there's a group called the Arkansas Podcasters Organization or Association, and I went to one of their meetings, and one of the things they said is every one of you should be able to find plenty of guests in this room. You should should have other podcasters.
Yeah.
The dilemma for us is we are here in South Arkansas, and everyone else is either in Central or Northwest Arkansas. Right. And so it would be a little bit of a challenge for some of them to travel.
Yeah.
But there's some guys.
But I'm, as a guy who covers for the paper the entire state, I'm here a lot. That's the good thing about it. I'm in South Arkansas a lot, and I'm a South Arkansas boy, so that's where I want to be.
So, matter of fact, Rex, you were supposed to be our speaker at our chamber banquet in 2020, and that was canceled because of COVID.
Yep.
And I was so brokenhearted because if you've never heard Rex's speech that he gives, it's just really good. It gives you a really good overall 10,000 foot view, but overall picture of Arkansas politics.
And COVID cut out a lot of stuff.
Killed.
I was off the road, I guess, about 14 months, I guess, till we got the vaccines and everybody had gotten them.
Wow.
Hard to believe now, but I did not give a single talk for 14 months.
Yeah. Oh, I bet your wife was ready for you to get out of the house.
She was tired of me. Let me
By the way,
I was not on the road.
He suffers from the same syndrome as you and I, and that's married out of your league.
Okay. Punching out of his weight class.
Definitely.
Oh, very much so.
She is definitely out of his
very
league.
much so. Yeah.
So out kicking his coverage, as Rainwater would say.
Things.
And Rainwater knows too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Carrie, he brought Carrie down here, and we went to play golf.
She was the best
she was
one
the best golfer on the team.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, she was fabulous, man.
And looked better doing it.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
But that's going to do it for us this week. And Rex, again, we appreciate you. We appreciate all of our sponsors. Boomer, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Until next week, this has been Off the Back Porch. God bless.
With a history of being the voices you trust, this is Off the Back Porch.